Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 150 of the Kpush podcast. We're here with Alex Olinger today. What's
That's
going on,
my name.
man?
What's going on? I'm a little hungover. To say a little bit would be an understatement. I'm dying right now.
Are you really?
Yeah, I can actually feel the dying in my headphones, in my own voice. Oh my God.
It's
What is
okay.
it? That's what the headphones, you can really hear yourself be not what you expected yourself to be.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that was the I had that advantage when I started doing stand up because I think a lot of people had to get used to hearing their voice over the microphone. I was already used to it because I think I had like 80 some podcast episodes before I even started stand up.
Oh, you're already going
Yeah,
for the
well,
podcast?
That's why because I wanted to do stand up in Massachusetts, but
Right.
it was all like 18 plus, and I wanted to start it at 16. And then when I turned 18 or was around 18, COVID hit, and so they were like,
Right, so
"We're
you just
done."
got shut down by
Yeah,
life.
and so I was writing jokes, and I had shit, and I was like, "What am I gonna do?" So my parents let me start a podcast. And they helped me out a lot with microphones and stuff like that. We were like 50-50. They were like, whatever money you have, we'll give you some money as well. And
Yeah,
blessed to my parents for letting me do that.
yeah, giving you the hookup.
Yeah, no,
No,
for
no,
sure.
this setup is legitimate.
Oh, yeah, no,
Makes me feel much more comfortable.
oh, yeah?
Well, it's like you go to some people's houses
Yeah.
and they're like, "We're gonna do a podcast," and they're like, "It's down in the
Basement.
basement." And they got like one camcorder set up, and they're like, "We're gonna talk on this iPhone." You're like, "This is not okay. This is really fucking scary, actually."
Yeah, right afterwards, you're just being ready to be shoved into a closet and locked.
Yeah, you're like, "Why is there blood all over the podcast couch? How long has this camcorder been running?"
It's like the start of a Saw movie.
Yeah, and they're like, "We want to talk about the evils of political correctness." Say it into the camera.
That's actually the good thing about me is no one wants to hear a 19-year-old talk about politics.
Absolutely not.
No, they are like, you don't know fucking jack shit.
Well, some people might be like wanting you to talk about it so they can come back later just to fucking like shit on you in the comments.
Right.
Where it's like they act like they don't want it, but they love it.
Yeah.
Because they can come down and just shred you or something. Make fun of you later.
Well, yeah, there are like a bunch of these 19-year-old TikTokers who just scream at their iPhones.
Oh, yeah.
And about like dumb political. Nobody wants that. Nobody like needs that. Nobody wants to watch that. It's not good for anybody.
Yeah, it's like adults are already failing at
Right.
politics on a massive scale. Then you have somebody who like took one high school sociology class and they just have Wi-Fi and a vagina, so they're like, "I'm going for it. I'm saying all the stuff. I've only been here 1.5 decades." But let's just pontificate about this.
Yeah, no, and that's what I kind of started off with is because I started the podcast during COVID, so I just tried to talk about COVID and like what was going on with high school. But again, nobody wants to even hear about that. I mean, it's cool to listen to go back and be like, oh yeah,
You think so?
I don't know.
Like COVID in high school?
I mean,
I feel like there's got to be like an audience out there.
yeah,
But it's also like how many high schoolers are up to date on podcasting?
right. No, there's not a lot of podcasters.
Right. So you
who
are
play
kind of
podcasts.
like you're visiting kind of an adult's world.
Yeah.
So how'd you adjust? What did you do?
I realized that I should keep doing it. That was the one thing is that even if you suck and no one's listening, you're probably going to be better off doing it and then getting better at talking. And then I knew I always wanted to do stand-up. I mean, the first episode we were like, I'm going to move to Texas and we're going to be stand-up comedians. And me and Dom, that was the first episode. And we had someone else and he ditched along the way. So me and Dom were like the outliers.
Oh, you had
stuck with
somebody
it.
in your crew initially?
Yep. Yeah, so it was actually 3 of us who were supposed to
Yeah.
move down and do stand-up, and that didn't end up happening.
Yeah.
So it was just me and Dom who kind of stuck through it, and I realized that even if maybe I'm not going to know what is or isn't funny, because I realized that too, because I did solo episodes.
Yeah.
But the problem is with solo episodes when you're not doing stand-up is you have no idea what funny is. Like, you don't know how to be funny.
There's no feedback at all.
Right, exactly.
I've recorded some solo stuff in my apartment.
Oh,
and
yeah?
half of the episode is me ranting about how uncomfortable it is to do a podcast to just like a wall.
Well, a bombing on a solo episode is sometimes worse, not always, sometimes worse than bombing at stand-up, because you'll stop recording and it's just you. And then you're just like, you should just kill yourself. Like, it's just...
Yeah, you should go home to... Go home to heaven or wherever you came from.
Right.
You should go back to pre-vagina days before you, whatever dimension you came out of.
PV.
Yeah, you go back to PV, buddy.
So
yeah, it's hard to keep it going. I was really. It seems like the people who are very successful at this or anything, they just have. They probably have like a little bit of talent, but they also have a mentality of like, I'm just gonna do this until it. And that's good though. You start at a really early age.
Right, and then I figured out how to make my thoughts sound sort of interesting and coherent, which
Right.
a lot of people. I mean, I try to not say and like that's some. Oh my god, that
Yes,
is
dude.
such a rookie move.
Oh, you left your phone on?
Yeah, it's
dude.
such a
You know what's
terrible move.
crazy? My phone is on too. If somebody calls, boo, you're gonna hear it. But I'm gonna give you shit for that. I should have just acted like that wasn't the case.
Oh, please give me shit, dude.
Nah, dude. What the hell are you doing?
150. Here we go.
Yeah,
Still
your
rookie
parents
moves.
can't buy you manners, can they, son? Jesus Christ. Turn your freaking phone off. I showed up late, hungover. And his fucking phone is on. Unprofessional.
Dude, don't worry about being late. Nick V has come on, and he's texted me an hour late when he's supposed to be here, and he's like, "Hey, I don't have a ride. Can you come pick me up?"
Oh, Jesus.
So like,
Eventually,
don't worry.
you're like, no, actually, we're just not gonna do this episode.
It's canceled.
Yeah, it's done because I'm not doing that. It's like you're an hour late. Also, this is a podcast in my room. 6 people are gonna watch this. I'm not doing this with you. I'm gonna do this podcast with my Lego set. I'm gonna do the podcast with these Legos. Yeah. Ooh.
This is very low standard here, especially with like open micers. Like, you're not gonna get like high class, people who show up on
no.
time. No,
No, buddy, you're not getting high class anything.
No.
You're in the bottom. You're in the trenches right now.
I know.
I'm glad to visit you deep down in the trenches. You're just eating soggy bread in here, trying to make it out with lunatics. Your whole base for pulling people is going to be 95% lunatics right now until you get some play on this podcast. If you're listening to this, send some money.
Please.
Please send an ad read or something. This man is dealing with the bottom of the bottom.
It's like
Let's get him out. Come on, people.
It's like a mental institution.
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
just running it.
If you're watching this, he's put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah, well, it'll show one day. One day, hopefully, it'll show.
Yeah, dude. You can't. Nothing happens immediately,
No.
especially in comedy. It's like, I don't know. I think every generation gets like 5 prodigies out of the whole world,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and then, everybody else is just gonna do like the 15 to 25 year grind.
Right.
And
yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that length of time.
Mhm.
It's actually what it's supposed to be. I actually feel like there's something beautiful about the people that had to put that much time in.
Yeah.
Like the relentlessness. That's almost somebody who can do that, in my eyes, is just as special as the prodigy. Like
Right.
just as unique in a different way. Because it really it takes a lot to do that.
Well, I think that we're in a good spot right now because we have the internet too, right? So you it's nice because I could never have started this show in the 1980s,
Oh,
right?
no.
Like
Somebody would beat you up for sure. You'd be in a Spielberg movie, hiding your little technology in the room. Your dad come in. The fuck are you playing football? I want to be a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy how much podcasting like kind of blew up, like out of nowhere. I feel like during COVID.
Yeah, I mean, people got stuck inside, man.
Yeah, and that was the
And
only.
then Rogan was just crushing it. You know, and there was also like, it seemed like there was a whole cultural thing that's been going on with the news media and CNN and people just kind of getting sick of compartmentalized information.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like if you can hear somebody come on and talk for 3 hours about a subject, it's going to be much more interesting. Especially if you feel like the information you're getting elsewhere isn't, not that it's bullshit, but it's like incomplete or it's not satisfactory. You know, it's like you watch the news or commercials on TV. At least to me, I feel like they're like always talking to me like I'm stupid.
Yeah.
Like on the news, where
Yeah.
they're like, they spoon feed it to you like you're a baby, and
Right.
eventually people are gonna watch that, and even if they can't, maybe even like conceptualize it consciously, there is an element of it where it's like if you're offered a 3-hour long discussion with a really smart person, people are gonna gravitate to that.
Right.
No one's gonna want to be talked to like they're a little kid, you know.
Yeah, of course. Well,
And
I'm
so-
not smart by any means.
Oh, me neither, buddy.
I just let people talk.
I'm working on it. You let them go. Yeah. No, but it you know, there's like a whole avenue that opened up. Then you stick people inside, man. People start getting on the internet. You can't really go out and hang out with a bunch of people. You just got people talking in your ears. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think it's probably why it popped off. You know. Also, dude, the thing about controversy, in a sense, it was like Rogan got a lot of heat, and I think these people might have or might not have realized that, like, you're just giving him a shit ton of publicity.
Right.
It's like being upset at this guy, you just made him the biggest media figure.
Right. Well, that's what happened with Trump. That's why he won. I mean,
Yeah.
and not to get political, but that
No,
that
that
is
is
what
why he won.
happened.
He
Is
just got, it was like the anti-hype. It was like you don't want him to win, and then you wouldn't shut the fuck up about him. And it's like, don't you know how marketing works? Like, do you remember any of the Republican candidates who ran against him?
not one.
No.
No.
Like, almost immediately, there was no other candidates.
Right.
It was just Trump and people he was bullying. And that was like it. And they hated him so much they couldn't shut up about it. It's almost like a weird self-fulfilling prophecy or something.
Yeah. And those internet clips of the news when they had to report that Trump won is so funny still to this day.
Yeah.
They're just like,
You see the PBS one?
no, I did not.
The PBS one was especially kind of darkly funny because I think they wound up talking a lot of shit beforehand. And then they had to go on and just be like, all right, it seems that Donald Trump is now the president of the United States. And they were like visibly upset. What were you doing that night?
That night,
How old were you when
dude,
that?
I was in 7th grade, and that was the first election
damn.
where I was sort of conscious. So it was because you're not like fully conscious at 12. Like you kind of know what's going on. You're starting to sort of pay attention.
Yeah, but you had like memory and thoughts, right? Okay.
No.
I'm saying like, at first I thought you said you came online like at 12, and I was like, that's really late, dude. That's like a long time. It's usually around. Okay, so
Yeah,
but you
11 before was.
you mean
nothing.
conscious of the world
Yeah,
around you?
conscious of the world around me,
Yeah,
right? Of
yeah.
course, but
Okay.
like before, when you're 11, you're not thinking about who the president is. You're not thinking about who the government. Maybe you were. I certainly was not.
I was definitely not.
Right, but then you were 12, and it was just thrown in your face. Like, even as a 12-year-old, like, teachers would be talking about Trump in school, and it was like,
Jesus.
what is going on?
Like during math class. And you're like, I have skills I need to learn.
Right?
Like, if I don't learn certain things, I'm going to die. And you're like talking to me about Trump right now.
It's so strange. I always say this though too, that I just started thinking about, which is I've been alive for 19 years, and just coming to realization that 12 of those years Joe Biden's been in office. Like, that's really strange. And the only other time that there was like a president acting was like Trump. Like, Bush was around, but I was 2 years old when Bush was in office. Because yeah. So it wasn't like I didn't know Bush.
You don't remember September 11th?
No, I wasn't alive for September 11th.
Jesus, my God!
I'm after September 11th.
The fuck, I gotta get it together, man. I'm doing podcasts in a 19-year-old's bedroom. Shit, he doesn't even remember 9/11. I'm here chopping it up with him about old DT. That's crazy. Man, yeah. I almost just said 9/11 came out like it was an album. 9/11 dropped when I was in 4th grade. 9/11 was leaked when I was in 4th grade. The mixtape. Part 1 and 2.
Do you remember 9/11 really clearly?
Oh yeah, dude.
Well, how
that
old were
shit.
you?
Anybody that saw that, I have a theory too that, at least to me, if you didn't watch 9/11 live, there's something missing in like between me and you, there'd be like a little thing missing in the bonding experience
Absolutely.
of what America means.
Yeah.
Because if you watch that shit live, like something happened.
Right.
In everybody's brains. Everybody's like, oh, fuck. Like the whole American idea that we're safe and nothing bad is going to happen or could never happen to us, that whole bubble burst in about 30 minutes.
Wow.
Across the whole country.
Yeah.
And I remember being in school, 4th grade. I went to school, and then they sent everybody home. And they didn't tell us what happened at school. They were just like, I heard there was like an explosion. This is conspiracy theories among the 4th graders were already starting. I swear to God, I went into the bathroom, and kids were just making shit up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who they heard any information from, because it happened like 5 minutes prior. But I remember being in the bathroom, and people were like, you heard they had machine guns on there? And like kids were like talking about it. Like it was like they were there.
They were in the bathroom. They were like, Bush did it. It was
Bush. Yeah, it was Bush for sure. It's actually the Federal Reserve. Did you hear they took insurance claims out? A 4th grader smoking a cigarette in the bathroom. Let me show you something, boys. He's got a manifesto drawn in crayon. Let me show you something. I've been working on this for a decade.
No, I remember.
It's finally come to fruition. I've been watching Alex Jones a lot. I'm in 4th grade.
I remember, just first hearing about it, like, on the podcast, like, Dave Smith, he's a comic. I don't know if you know who he is. But he would talk about, like, during COVID, like, the changes that are going to come from COVID are going to be similar from the changes from 9/11, like how the TSA molests you when you go to the airport now.
Oh, yeah.
And
It's not molestation if you like it. I kiss them back, for sure.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
A little smooch?
They touch me, I touch them. I go, come here. I like you. What's your name?
Now it's my turn to check you.
Yeah. You put your hands up now, buddy.
And I remember thinking about that. Like, I don't remember anything different. I don't remember walking up to a gate of an airport. An airport has always been this long process you get on, and that's just what it is to my brain.
Yeah. I mean, that's mostly what it's been to me, too. But I remember back when TSA started really coming down on people and, like, the scanners, and people thought they were going to give you cancer, and then people were, like, kind of debating about if it's a violation of rights. But I mean, back in the day, dude, you could like smoke on an airplane. You could definitely bring a gun on there for sure.
Right.
I mean, I've fantasized about those times. Do you ever do this? You fantasize about a time period in America you weren't alive for, and you just think that it's great? I do that a lot in my head, where I'm like, dude, if I was in the 40s, I'm like, I'd be a fucking novelist. And just driving in my car with no AC and duct tape on the back window. If I was just in the fucking 40s. This wouldn't. But yeah, you could, I don't remember. Remember, it was more lax than 9/11 happened.
Right.
That's where a lot of the conspiracy theories maybe not started, but that was one of the things they were saying is like they used 9/11 to kind of exercise taking people's rights away.
Right.
And kind of opening up a world government that was like, you know, looking for the right word. A little slow this morning, but they're basically gonna control everybody with this world government. And they using that as an excuse to take away people's rights.
Yeah.
Which, like, I think maybe that was the case, but also seems like, I don't know. I don't believe the Bush administration did it. They probably looked the other way on some shit that led to it.
That's what I think too.
You know, but I do think they took advantage of it.
For sure.
They were like, oh, this thing happened. And then like a week later, they were like, well, I guess now we can do all these other things, right?
Right.
I guess now we can go into Iraq. Isn't that convenient, boys?
Wait, that was the thing with COVID, right? Is that a lot of people saying that the government started COVID. But it's like, that's a little stretch. Did they take advantage of COVID? For sure, they probably did take advantage of it, and they abused their power. And that was the thing with the Patriot Act, is that they had a lot of those things that were in the Patriot Act. They had already tried to pass, but they couldn't until 9/11. And that was the thing Edward Snowden released, and now is in Russia or wherever he is.
Wherever that man is. Dude, no one knows where he is. He could be in this room right now. He could be here. No, who the fuck knows where he is? That's a sneaky guy.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, imagine he's hidden from the U.S. government.
And then,
what kind of a ninja do you have to be?
And then goes on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Like a baller. He drops in just to do a guesty spot on old Rogan's podcast. Like, excuse me, dude? You just FaceTimed Rogan for a short 3-hour conversation? My God, what a ninja. I was thinking in my head of them trying to catch him.
Dude,
and they're like in Russia. And he's like clinging to the ceiling like a spy. Oh my God, Snowden's been here. He's in the vents or something. Just a real ninja.
Just a constant diehard.
Yeah, I hope he dresses like a ninja. He looks in the mirror, he's like, you're a ninja. You are Snowdy.
The podcast with Joe Rogan where he's just in like some sort of black room and it's all dark.
It's just gray. It's just a gray room. Like, wherever the hell he is.
And that's always been the thing with the president's pardon, right? Is like, what the hell? Why isn't a president pardon him? Or like, what? That was always the theory Trump was going to do his last days in office was pardon Edward. But
you think so? We'll get our boy back.
Well, that I didn't think that, but a lot of people were saying that he was going to do that.
Yeah, a lot of people say a lot of things, man. My God. So,
But I remember the first time, because I didn't know how big 9/11 was really until I had one talk with my swim coach where she was like put everything sort of in perspective for me. So she was alive and she was a teenager during 9/11. She babysat these kids, and the dad worked had a big time job at one of the towers. And after 9/11, he killed himself, and she walked in on him hanging. And she got there before the kids got there, and she saw the body, and she like ran out, got the kids, called the mom, and I was like, that's how fucking, because they were in Boston, right? So I didn't think anyone from any, like, I thought New York was just affected, but I didn't realize how everyone all over the country had changed a mindset.
The world, dude.
Yeah.
The whole world. Everybody watched that. Every single, and they still watch it. I mean, it's, yeah, it was a big deal. It was, I mean, it obviously like directly affected the Northeast, but I remember too what was crazy was it put everybody in this sort of like united fever to support the US in the military.
Yeah.
And then when the US went into Iraq, someone like pulled out a were you are you old enough to in school they have like the racks with the TVs on top? Like the rolly racks?
Yeah.
With like the VHS
Yep.
TV on
Yes,
top.
yeah.
Yeah, so
That
when
was
rainy day, teacher's not there, you could watch like
Yep.
a documentary about monkeys.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
like the
Bill
first half
Nye.
of Mulan
Right.
for the rest of the year or whatever. Yeah, they pulled that out, and then they had footage of us bombing Iraq. And then like I was in like
Whoa.
yeah, I was in like maybe like just into middle school, and people were like the whole cafeteria of kids started cheering. It was weird. It was very, very surreal.
What?
Yeah, I swear to God, dude. They had footage of them bombing Iraq, and then because they said it was like related to 9/11, and like the whole cafeteria just like of children like erupts in applause.
And what were you thinking? Did you cheer, or were you like, "Hey, what does this mean?"
I'd like to say that I was independently minded.
Sure.
I don't think I was super happy, but I do remember looking at a couple of the like there every class has like that liberal girl
Mm-hmm.
that like
Yeah.
she's like really on time
Yes.
with her homework.
Yes.
She's kind of sexy, but like she's like not you're like God, you're like not fun to be around.
Yeah.
But you
Yes.
kind of want to, you know what I mean, see what's
course.
up with her.
Of
But that
course.
liberal girl was I remember looking over and she was like upset. It was
Upset.
weird. It was like the whole cafeteria was clapping, and there was like two of those girls that were like the smartest ones were sitting there, and just like like they looked pissed and uncomfortable. You know, I remember that was really interesting. So it's like the whole cafeteria was on board except for these two girls who were just watching it like this is fucking not cool.
And when was it? You were in middle school.
Yeah.
Do you remember what year this was exactly? Around
Man,
what time?
I can't remember. It was. Might have been around fourth grade, 2002 or 3.
2002. So that
I
was
mean, it was
right
like
before I was born.
yeah, it's like right when it started. That was the case. I guess whatever year it started. I just remember being in middle school. I was at a different school than when 9/11 happened. But even the thing is like it was like 2-3 years later, people still hopped up on like we're gonna fight Osama bin Laden and these terrorists, and then it just kept going, man. It didn't stop. We were just over there until like recently. It's wild. It's wild to think about. It almost has like weird like dystopian novel overtones to it.
Right.
Where like we're at war. You read 1984?
No.
Read that book.
Okay.
I can give you a cop. I think I have a copy of it.
Okay.
But it's one of the things in their society. Do you know like the whole premise of the book?
I've heard of the book, but I don't
Right.
know exactly
So
like what
it's
happens.
about this guy that works in a government office,
Mhm.
and it's the saying it was Big Brother is watching you. So he works in this society in this government office where the government has cameras everywhere. They're watching everything. They take all of the written literature
Yeah.
and they burn it. You know what I mean? Everybody has to adhere to the party's standards. Everybody's really poor and broke, and they're all just loyal to this party. But one of the details that it almost felt like was their society and their country has been at war now for like 60 plus years ever since the revolution happened. So they're like constantly at war, and they
Right.
kind of use the wars as a distraction method or technique to keep people kind of amused and to keep money and funds like flowing. And it had like an overtone kind of like that, where you're like, you kind of think about it, you're like, how long have we been at war in the Middle East?
Right.
It was a pretty wild thing to see.
Well, that was what's going on with Ukraine right now. I mean, again, I don't know shit. I just see.
Yeah, I don't know much about it either. Something smells fishy though.
Right. That's what I always say. I'm a pretty good bullshitter. Like, I just smell bullshit, and that just seems like, yeah. There was an article Tim Dillon talked about it recently where NATO's running out of bullets. Like that, we're running out of bullets. Like the military-industrial complex. That seems a little like, why are we giving them so many bullets? Like that.
That's a hell of a theory and a great question. That's the bottom question of all this. How many, at a certain point, the war is like, you need how many bullets to win?
Right.
And you're like, dude, we're out of bullets, man. We can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
There's no more weapons or bullet. You haven't done it yet. You lost.
Yeah, and Giannis Papas, he says, like, Russians will just keep throwing men. They'll just keep throwing bodies. They don't care. Like, that's what Russia does to win wars. They have so many people, and you don't have enough bullets for men. Like, the amount of bullets you'll need to take out every single Russian is just insane.
Yeah, you can't. I don't think you can do it. I don't really know. I grew up in North Carolina among at least my friends, and my parents were like tech people. They're from the Northeast. So they're from New York.
Mm-hmm.
And so I grew up in like more of a Catholic East Coast household, but a lot of my friends were like country people, and they were like, the mentality down there that seems to be lost now, it was always, you just don't trust politicians. There was not like a party thing or supporting a war. It was like, I have money in the walls of my double wide.
Right.
And they were like, why? It's like, because I don't trust any of them.
Yeah.
Because this is like the South and this is the country. And like whatever they're doing is probably fucked up and it's bullshit. And they're going to like dig their own graves. And he's like, I'm going to be fine. I got my shotgun. I can hunt. I got my gold in a chest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wild West type things.
Yeah.
A fish, hunt or whatever. Keep yourself alive. That was kind of the mentality. That seems to be like lost on people.
What do you think it is now? Like, is it sort of like...
Oh, dude, it's social media. It's just... all day, if you really want to tap into it, you can just... there's a French book that was written in the 50s, 60s. I can't quote it directly, but it's about propaganda, and it basically describes how propaganda was used on the radio and the TV, and then it describes like propaganda wants to like isolate you but also make you feel like you're part of a group, but like, man, I really can't break this down because it was a super intelligent book, but
Sure.
the long story short was, if you read the book, you start to realize like the cell phone is like the perfect machine for that.
Yeah.
You feel like you're in a big community, but it isolates you individually.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then it can kind of like warp your thoughts and make you feel a certain way about things while making you feel like you're attached to this like bigger cause. But actually what it's doing is it's isolating people so they can't really communicate effectively.
Right.
And come together in communities like about these ideas. But it's got to be the phones, man. It's got to be, you're like on, people are on the internet and on their phones all day, just downloading information. A lot of thing about the internet too is like right now it's like you don't even get. This is why I'm just trying to take a break from like YouTube. I put a timer on my Instagram on my phone. You can do that. It'll like shut off after 30 minutes. But it was like all the videos on YouTube now, they're not it's not the first source of information.
Yes.
So it's like the truth, like with 80 different layers on it, where like a dude will cut it up, put out clips, and then you have a reaction to a clip, and then you have comments about the clip, and then you have a video about the comments, and it goes all the way down, and then you're getting like that video.
Right.
That's like 8 steps behind.
Mm-hmm.
And then people are like making claims and having debates on like that video, which is not the way to. It's like you want to talk about Ukraine. It's like none of you are actually in the Oval Office.
Yeah.
None of you are in Ukraine.
Right.
None of you are actually showing raw footage of this. None of you are actually watching the war consistently. You're literally telling me what somebody said about Joe Rogan, what your buddy said about what somebody said about Joe Rogan. And I think that just creates like an unrealistic depiction of what certain things might be in people's heads, because you get really hyped up on it, but it's like you're not even like debating it was like people criticize like Jordan Peterson and stuff.
Right.
And I have like certain issues with his theories and things like that, but also like how many of these people that like really hate him have sat down and watched his full lectures or performances and sat down with it. Like that should, to me, that should be the only video that's on YouTube. Like if he wants to clip his own shit and put it into 15-minute segments or whatever, that's fine. But at a certain point, it's like the only thing that should be up there is what he puts out.
Right.
You know, that it sucks too, because anybody can take your shit. Remember, my biggest clip on the internet right now, bro, is called "Short King Gets Humiliated."
What?
I swear to God, dude. Somebody sent me a clip from Kill Tony, like, this clip of you's blowing up. And I was like, oh, shit. And I looked at it, it just said, Short King Gets Humiliated. I was like, fuck. Damn it, dude. It has like 200,000 views. And I was like, God, what the fuck? Like, this dude just watched Kill Tony, clipped my set, and then clipped like 15 seconds of Shane Gillis and Hinchcliffe calling me short. And then my reaction, and didn't show the rest of the interview where I did well or where Shane said I did great, or he dapped me up at the end.
Yeah.
Didn't show my minute set. He just showed that one thing. So now if you just see that, you just have this idea that I was humiliated the whole time and I sucked. It's like, dude, that's not what happened.
Right, exactly.
How are you allowed to do this? You're a piece of shit for doing that.
Was this the Kill Tony where the guy before you went up with the puppet, and then you went up and riffed on the puppet, and then
No, that was the one. That was the one afterwards.
Oh, the one afterwards. Well, that one, I thought that was amazing Kill Tony debut for you, was when you fucking riffed on the puppet. You did pretty good with the puppet shit. And then Tony let you do your other minute. So you got like 2 minutes of stand-up on Kill Tony, which most people don't get.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a cool thing to clip.
Yeah, that would
Whoever is that looking in the camera, you could have clipped that, asshole. Thanks a lot. Fucking A.
Yeah, I'm
No, I think that guy actually did clip that one too.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
What a nice man.
What a great guy. Didn't actually... This is a double-edged sword, but didn't put my name in either of them. This is a fucker thing to do. He puts a clickbait title.
Yeah.
Nobody's name.
Did he at least say Alex?
No. It was just Short King Gets Humiliated. And I was like,
horrible.
Dude, this is... And, you know, it's going to get buried forever.
Sure.
Unless someone finds this and then it resurfaces because I was a dumbass and brought it up onto the internet. But... it's going to get buried forever, so it's not going to be a big deal. And I think everybody knows that channel is bullshit. But there is an element of it where it's like, that's not even what happened at all.
Yeah.
So it's like you spend all day in this world where, like, you keep watching, it's like, this is not what's happening. Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite Bill Hicks jokes.
Yes.
You heard that one about the news?
Yep.
Yeah, where he's like, death, war, famine, AIDS. He goes to his window. It's like, It's like, where is all this shit happening?
It's fine outside.
It's fine, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, go outside. It's fine.
Well, I think that's part of the reason why people like podcasts, is because, you know, we'll talk about serious shit, but then you just dick around about it too. Like you
Yeah,
didn't
dude.
switch.
Bringing it full circle.
Yes.
Yes, that's the conclusion.
Yeah.
One big full circle we just came to. Good job.
Nice. Let's
Podcasting
go.
expert.
Yeah.
Let's go. We'll talk about something more lighthearted.
I liked this is sort of on topic. I liked growing up with YouTube. I like where I was with YouTube because I grew up. I was like 8 years old and it was Charlie Bit Me and like cat videos farting. Like that was
Yeah, wow. You kind of came in the late era.
right.
See, when I grew up, the internet was the Wild West.
Right.
It was really just it was children and a bunch of pedophiles. That's what the internet was for a long time.
Yeah,
it was,
that's
dude. It
why-
was really perverts and like kids on the internet.
Yeah.
At least when it came out, when I was growing up,
Right.
you know, and there are a lot of my whole generation, man. People my age have seen just evil shit. All of us just
Right.
grew up watching bad things on the internet.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, that was throughout middle school. That was when like I don't know if you've heard of like the Gauntlet or like anything.
What is that?
It's
Oh,
it's
you all right?
yeah. I'm all right.
You took okay? Did you watch it?
I watched.
You took a very deep breath. Like, do you
2
not?
minutes.
Before we do this, do you not want to say anything?
No,
about it?
no.
We don't have to
can't.
talk about it, dude. You're really chipper, and then the Gauntlet came up. It sounds scary.
It was just a series. It was like a level 10. So it was like you had level 1, level 2, level 3, and it progressively got more and more fucked up as you watched. I watched 2 minutes of it, and I was like, I'm all right.
Yeah, I'm good
all
on
right.
level 1.
Yeah, I'm okay. Or like you had
Yeah.
One Man, One Jar.
Ooh, a classic.
Yeah, it's a classic. And I
Back
watched,
in my day, we called that Jar Squatter. That's what the original name was.
But yeah, like I watched that in middle school, and that was,
Yeah, I watched that too. In middle school. Yeah, that was one of those things where you're like, man, maybe we should. Me and my buddies were in an AOL chat room.
Yeah.
And we met a pedophile.
You met a pedophile?
Yeah, the 4 of us were sitting around on a computer one night.
He said, like, hey, what's up, guys? I'm a pedophile?
Well, we were fucking around in the chat room.
Sure.
But it was like a porn chat room.
Sure.
And this dude was like, we were like, we'll pay you to, if you pay us, blah, blah, we'll suck your dick. Like, we were fucking around, but this dude was like serious.
Right.
You know, we were in 4th grade, so we didn't know. We were like, haha, this guy wants to do this. And then we were like, yeah, we'll meet you. And we told him to meet us at like a McDonald's and then like never went.
Wow.
Yeah, we were fucking with him. We were like,
Right.
meet us at the McDonald's on blah, blah, blah Boulevard at 5 p.m. And then we just never went.
Oh, shit.
So,
wow.
I mean, if one of us had gone, we'd definitely be. Yeah. But it never happened. We were just fucking around.
He's just
But that's
sitting
how
there with
that's
a
how
McGriddle.
close it was, yeah. Back in the day, everything was wide open.
Well, that's why that one TV show, oh my God, what, To Catch a Predator was so big in the beginning, right? Is
Oh,
because...
dude, that show crushes. That's one of the greatest shows of all time. Yeah. I don't know what it is about it, but it's the same thing every time.
Right.
But it never really gets old.
No, those TV shows are so good. I mean, I like Bar Rescue. It's the same thing. Do you know what Bar Rescue is?
No.
It's just a reality TV show with this guy, John Taffer. He seems coked out, and he just goes to people's bars and yells at them for, like, failing bars. And then
like
fixes
Gordon
them.
Ramsay?
Yeah, like Gordon Ramsay, but for bars. Like,
Right.
Same thing with Gordon Ramsay, right? Like,
Right.
why
Gordon
is that
Ramsay's
so entertaining?
It's great. It's really. I think they just figured out a way to appeal to like the lowest common denominator in your lizard brain, where you're like, it's just a lady getting yelled at about her shitty hotel,
Nice.
and you can just watch it and tap out. I love. Me and my girlfriend watch Gordon Ramsay a lot. We just sit there and like binge watch episodes. There's some great ones. Something about watching delusional weird people.
Right.
That's hard to look away from.
Oh, yeah.
It's extremely entertaining. I really like Hoarders too.
Oh, my gosh. Those TCLs or TLCs?
TLC.
TLC's videos or TV shows are so good.
Oh, dude, My 600 Pound Life crushes. I love it. They have to like they put people in the back of vans
Right.
and they drive them, and they're always screaming to stop for food on the way, and they have to pull into like a drive-through. It's great, and there's always like an enabling partner in one of those, and I always wondered like, how are you letting this person bully you?
Right.
They can't move. Like, it's one thing to be bullied by like a bunch of massive jocks,
Right.
or like just like really intimidating people that like chase you and run after you and like beat your ass. This person can't get up. You know,
You have
they
to
have,
wipe their ass.
right. It's like the guys on the show is like, if I don't bring her the chicken, oh, she won't stop yelling at me, and I have to keep bringing her McDonald's. It's like, no, you don't. Like, they're not gonna die. They have fat for years to live off of. Just stop feeding them.
Right.
What the fuck are they gonna do? She's gonna yell at you? Just shut the door and walk away.
Leave her there.
Just leave her there. Leave her in bed, dude. It sounds cruel, but it's also like, this person's dying.
And you're killing them.
You're killing them because you're upset that they're yelling at you.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. But
insane.
just walk away from this person.
Yeah.
What? You're gonna threaten me? You're gonna what? What are you gonna close my bank accounts? What are you gonna do? I'll just take, if anything is 10 feet away from you, it's not yours anymore. It's because you can't do it. You can't use it anymore.
10 feet's a reach, though, right? Like it's
Dude, they
more like
can't-
5 feet.
Yeah, they get arm's length.
Yeah.
If anything is from here to this record, it is not theirs. They cannot use it. Immediately out of danger.
I just think, like, once you can't wipe your ass, there's got to be something that clicks in your brain, right? Where
Well,
you're
that's
like,
the addict's mentality, bro. That's the thing is like,
Yeah.
you know, these people are like addicted to food.
And that one's really tough because a lot of people who have that addiction, which I never really. I get like addicted to sugar, but like I like running as well. So I don't know, but it's like you have to eat, right? You can't not eat. You have to
Right.
eat food. So like it's not like, oh, you can just stop drinking alcohol, right? Like
Right.
you don't need alcohol. You don't need it to survive. I mean,
Yeah, but you need to go eat, and then surrounding you is every evil option ever created in the history of the world to eat. I mean, like Dairy Queen. You know what I mean? And these places are everywhere, right? So it's just,
so good.
it's amazing. It's just endless sea of people trying to make you make a bad decision.
Especially in Austin. There's so much good food in Austin.
Yeah, the food down here is great, but the great food down here is like real food.
Right. Yeah.
As you go to a lot of these towns, it's like a Walmart moved in, all the other businesses failed,
Yeah.
and it's just a Walmart, a Subway, a McDonald's, a Wendy's.
Dude, that's
In
where...
a lot of those places, that's where these people have these problems.
Right. And
Because it's like, okay, we got one shitty grocery store, and then you got, on the way to it, there's like 3 places to stop.
it's not great.
I mean, it's not great. It's not like, oh, there's like a great healthy eating spot over here,
Right.
you know?
Well, and that was the thing where I sort of lived is there was like a Burger King. Like I work at Kava, and someone asked me the other day, why would anyone get Burger King? That was it. Like
Yeah.
in a 10-minute radius, it was Burger King or you could have Subway. That was it. Those are your
Yeah.
2 options. If you don't go there, then
Hmm.
it's horseshit.
Right. It's even worse at the grocery store.
Yeah.
You so work at Kava. I don't know if anybody listening has been to Kava, but it's like 8 of you working there. I don't know what Kava did. Every time I go in, it's like 19-year-olds
Yeah.
that are like a little bit nerdy.
Yeah.
Dude, every
Yeah.
fucking employee there is like an offbeat, like Gen Z.
Right, and then it's those are the people working in the front, and in the back, it's just all Hispanic people. That's it.
As is the way usually. As is the way. I mean, the Latinos got the kitchen work down. They've taken over kitchens everywhere.
They're so fast. I mean, they can
Oh, they
cook
don't-
and they're fast.
Yeah, they're great. They don't give a fuck.
No.
They'll do it for 16 hours, sleep in the parking lot, and come back. That's what dudes I used to work with, they would do. I worked a night shift, and on Fridays, Saturdays they had like a 5-hour shift. You could come in to get overtime, and these dudes would work till 2 a.m. night shift, sleep in the car, wake up at around 5, and then like walk right back into the factory and keep working. And it was after somebody works that hard, it's like you don't really have shit to say.
Right. Right. Yeah, you don't
You know
have
what I mean?
time to think about anything.
Right, but it's like you can't even criticize it at a certain
No.
point because you're like, oh, you guys are just the best.
Right.
You're basically holding this whole thing up that nobody else wants to do. Like really put that into perspective. It's like you really, who the fuck wants to work in a kitchen like that? Nobody. But how many people not necessarily need to, but like use those restaurants?
Right.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And they're just holding the thing up without complaining at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, man. I'm pro getting the Mexicans over here. I say we get more. Also, white people are now statistically a minority in Texas
Really?
by like 0.04%.
Whoa.
Yeah, so get your bits ready, boys. I'm playing the race card. I'm getting ready.
Well, and that's the me and Dom, when we first moved down here, we worked 3 14-hour days at Domino's. And 2 of those days, and we were managers, and 2 of those days we did back-to-back. So we did back-to-back 14-hour days. And it was good because I think we did Thursday and Friday, and then we did Monday. So it was Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I think we didn't. We would do Sunday. So we would go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all hit open mics.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of just what we did. But
yeah, those are the best days for the mics down here too.
Yeah, for sure. Unless you're trying to get on Kill Tony. But we just moved down here, just started comedy. We had no interest in Kill Tony. 0.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's good to do maybe like a couple times.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, that show is like a very hard double-edged sword.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like if you're not bringing a minute, it's almost like you got to at least have a really good set.
Yeah.
Like a really good interview. Or else they're going to fucking bury you.
Right.
Hard. And they're going to, they're going to do that, and that's what the whole show is kind of built on.
Right.
Because like it almost seems like 75% of the people, or maybe even more, like just eat a dick.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's a lot of people who either A, don't work that hard at stand-up, but they're kind of BSing it, and then they go do Kill Tony. Or B, they don't really know what Kill Tony is, and they haven't really done stand-up, and then they go do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, also anybody can sign up, man. That's the thing, is like there's so much like delusion and comedy and show business.
Mm-hmm.
Like so many.
You kind of have to be, though, right?
A little bit, but I think only the smallest amount.
Yeah.
Because like there's like hopeful, and there's ambition, and there's like I'm gonna work at this for a long time, and then there's like straight delusional.
Yeah.
Where you're like, do you have a good minute? And they're like, yeah. And it's like every time you see them, they bomb. And then the minute bombs on Kill Tony, and they get off, and they're like, I did great. And you're like, that was not good. That doesn't even like register in their brain.
I don't even know like what that. I don't know how you bomb and then say you do good.
A lot of people do.
I know,
and it's a very bizarre thing to watch.
It is bizarre.
You're like watching in the back. You're like, man, this sucks. And like unanimously, you'll be in a room full of like, let's say it's 50 people, and all 50 people except for you are like, we're we're not really feeling this at all. And then that one person gets off and they're like, I was right about that.
Mm-hmm.
And not only am I right in that one instance, I was right the entire time. This whole time it's been bombing. Yeah. Gives you the shivers.
It does, yeah.
It freaks you out.
It freaks me out because I feel
We'll just wait till you turn 21. You can be there all the time. You can be shivering a lot, buddy.
It's just it's fine like going up and bombing, right? Because that's just what happens, especially with new bits, especially if you're a new comic. But the idea that you can somehow convince yourself that you're doing really well is scary to me because I never want to be that person. I've never intended to be that person. I've always tried to stay away from being that person. And I don't know how you can be that person. And so the idea that there are people out there who do it, who like, because I get depressed when I bomb. I feel like shit.
You
I
should.
want to get high. I want to get drunk right afterwards.
Right.
I like, and I'm doing or trying to do sober October, and I like coming off a bomb sober is so hard, and you're just like, then that's your night. Like you just kind of stay in that.
Yeah, but that's also like I think if people who like especially if you're like new and you're bombing and it at any point it doesn't even matter. Like if you bomb and it doesn't bother you, you should not be doing stand up.
That's a good point.
Like if you're not making people laugh and it doesn't upset you, you do not care. And you are in it for a weird reason.
What do you think that reason is?
Man, a lot of people just want to be seen. Stand up is like that's the most narcissist. It's such a good breeding ground and attractive thing for just a narcissistic person.
Right.
If you think of the concept of it is like nobody else gets to talk, everybody looks at you, and then you get to just be the man.
Yeah.
And you're the only one that does it. It's like a narcissistic person and you get glory, fame.
Sometimes
you know what I mean?
fortune.
Sometimes, yeah. And it's like, to like a narcissistic person, that's
the dream.
That's the dream.
Right.
But like a lot of people, seems like they might just go up not really to make people laugh or to do comedy well. It seems like they go up there just to be like seen and to prove that they've done it. Mm-hmm. Like just to be on the stage, you know? And for that person, like, they're really not going to care about bombing in the same way. Mm-hmm. They're going to be like, that crushed. And it's like, no, you just stood there. And you're like, that's amazing. And it's really not. Yeah, I think it should feel really bad to bomb. Yeah. That's how you get better. And also, too, I think it's important to just sit in it. Some of my best bits and best, like, conclusions about comedy came after really hard bombs. Mm-hmm. For some weird reason, it would, like, do well for a while, and then you eat shit again, and you feel really low. But in that, like, low point, something churns up, where it's either something new or, like, an adjustment, or maybe you just get the fire back up under your ass. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's a really good thing. It's also like, yeah, sit in it, dude. Feel fucking bad.
Right.
It's part of the process of this.
Well, that's why I'm doing 1 month of sobriety, is because I'm just keep telling myself that this is 1 month, just get through it, and then, you know, after a bomb, you can take a shot afterwards, because it also makes sense why certain comics are getting sober, 10 years after doing comedy, right? Because their likelihood of bombing is way lower than someone who's just starting out doing comedy.
Yeah.
And so, like, you can kind of control, not all the time, right? But you can kind of control more when you aren't going to bomb. And you can kind of prepare yourself more. And you just know, the environment of comedy way more when you're doing it for 10 years.
Yeah, it's also like, I mean, on an open mic level, it's just so fucking brutal.
Yes.
And, like, your life probably isn't going the way you want it to.
No.
At all.
No.
You're not making any money. You're not making people laugh. Mm-hmm. Other people are doing better than you. And then, on top of all that, all these emotional things are going on. You're also just stuck at a bar all night. So it's like, okay, like right behind me is like, I could feel all right.
Yeah.
for a little bit, and it's real hard to stay sober. I've been drinking way less in that, honestly, like, because I started going up a little bit drunk, and I was doing well, and I was like, this is a problem.
Yeah.
Because if I get in a pocket in a groove where I can only do stand up drunk, then I have to commit to being an alcoholic.
Yeah, and you don't want
Which
that.
is no, you don't. That'll work for a while.
Your body will deteriorate. I mean, that's just what happens. It's like,
Yeah,
you might make it. You might be, drunk for those 10 years of being an open micer, but then you'll make it, and now your liver's shot. Now you can't even enjoy your success.
The whole thing is shot.
Right.
Maybe your brain might be shot too.
Yeah, that's true too.
It's also the thing too is like at a certain point it gets really complicated.
Right.
Like to put together an hour to work on it, to tag it up, to connect all these things in your head.
Yep.
It's like, I don't know. I can't do that drunk.
No.
I'll drink occasionally now, like on the weekends and stuff, like I did last night with some friends. But like, I'm going on stage at this point, like hammered, is like, I just realized it's just not conducive. You're gonna at least I like forget stuff, and then it comes out sloppy, and it's like, dude, I have to go back and you have to like organize this thing.
It's also such an unnatural state to be funny in. That's the thing about stand-up comedy, going back to like being a narcissist. Like, it's way more easier to be funny in this environment where it's just like two people talking. We don't have to be funny, right?
Right.
We're like, something funny might come up and we're funny, but like the whole time the objective is not to be funny the whole time.
No. And that's how it goes it's a very weird thing to, I think that's why it takes so long. It's like a lot of these comics are very funny people. You have to like figure out how to really like turn on a light switch.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Where it's like, it's almost got to go from 0 to 100, like whenever you want it to.
Yeah.
Which that's a crazy, difficult thing to learn.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Unless you're just some type of prodigy that just crushes all the time,
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever get bullied in Massachusetts?
No, I got bullied when I was, because I lived in Erie, Pennsylvania before I moved to Massachusetts.
Is that like country up there?
That's right next to Pittsburgh. So it's a small, like sort of a small town right next to Pittsburgh and Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, like some northern blue collar
fuckers. Yeah. So I mean, like a lot of it wasn't like super poor town, but it was definitely low middle class. Yeah. And there wasn't like a lot going on. There were, the big thing was there's a high school named Prep, and then there's a high school named McDowell, and that was what they focused on every year, was like, oh my gosh, who's winning the football? Is it going to be Prep and McDowell? Yeah. And that was their lives, and that's sort of how they operated. Yeah. And there's one comedy club out there. I mean, Tom Segura went on a podcast, and it was like, Erie's the shittiest fucking town in America, which it actually, I think it's the 9th or like 10th fattest city in America. Like, it's fat. It's
10.
Fat there.
Motherfuckers are fat.
Dude, it's every other person is a whale. It's so crazy.
That's insane. What's going on? What are they feeding people?
Dude, so it's all McDonald's. It's all this horse shit. And then they actually have some really good terrible food for you there. So there's this gas station called Sheetz there.
Dude, and I know about Sheetz.
You know Sheetz?
Yeah, they have them in North Carolina. I used to eat there all the fucking time.
Yes, I forgot about
Sheetz
that.
Sheetz is a black hole of just artery killing.
Oh my God.
I mean, if you really like go through the Sheetz menu, I get like a burger without a bun on a salad. That's what I'd eat for lunch. You know what I mean? It's like no bread. It's maybe some French fries.
Yep.
That's what I'd eat when I was working. But if you really went down on that menu, it's like, what is it, like breaded jalapeno poppers, a milkshake. Yeah, Sheets will fuck up your life.
And it's open 24 hours.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 3 a.m., let's go get some Sheets, right? Or,
Yeah.
like, then they have, the milkshakes, like the milkshake machines. And then they have the icy machines. And then they have the pints of ice cream. And then they have 3 aisles of candy. And then they also have this spot called Stefanelli's, and it's the best chocolate I've ever had in my entire life. It really is delicious,
Right.
and it's only local. It's only in Erie. Wegmans started, I think, in Harrisburg, which is an hour and a half from Erie. So there's a Wegmans fucking every, other.
So what's Wegmans?
It's a super big grocery store, but it's
Okay.
more food. It's like Walmart, but more food, and you can get food there. Like they make sandwiches, they make subs, they make soup. So you can just walk into Wegmans, and then they sell wine there
So you're
too.
saying most of Erie is shitty food.
It's all shitty food. It's
That's
all shitty.
That's
food.
the whole town is just
Yep.
places to eat.
Yeah, places
and then
to
a
eat.
high school football team.
Yes, that's it. That's all you do there.
So there's a bunch of people eating, reminiscing about high school football, and working at a job where they sit down all day. Yeah,
That's all it was.
The
And
thing
then-
about Massachusetts, I've heard, is that like they like everybody I know from around Boston, Massachusetts, has just stories of just getting their ass kicked.
Yeah, so
Like up there, people just kick the shit out of each other.
yeah, I mean, I got a little bit more of that when. Well, no, I got bullied in Erie because I couldn't. I'm dyslexic, so I couldn't read well, and so then I would just get called a retard. And
I can't imagine people in Erie can also read well. I can't imagine there's a lot of like Dostoevsky going around at the fucking Wegmans after the high school football game. You fat fucks. They can't even read the calorie counts on the
Well,
I can't imagine it was the hub of intellectualism.
Well, the thing is that I'm dyslexic, so imagine the education system there, right? It's dog shit. So I'm dyslexic, so I'm there, and they don't know that I'm dyslexic. They didn't know I was dyslexic till I moved to Massachusetts, where they were like, "Hey, I think your kid might be dyslexic," and I was in 5th grade at that point.
Right.
So like
That's how shitty it was.
It was so
They
terrible.
didn't even know what dyslexia was.
Yeah, they were like, "This kid has autism." I'm like, "Dude, I'm not fucking autistic. I just can't read." Those are two
Right.
different things.
Yeah, they don't even know.
Right.
Any type of thing, they're like, this is autism.
Yes, exactly. And so that
You're like,
I got put
I'm-
in with the autism
Yeah.
class.
I'm really.
Oh, yeah, no.
Elaborate on that.
So, I mean, I would go, like, they would go take me out for, like, English class or whatever. And I would be, like, the smartest kid in the autistic class.
Well, yeah.
Obviously. And so then, 2 things happened, right? So I was getting bullied for, or not, I wouldn't be bullied, like I wouldn't get the shit kicked out of me, right? But just name calling, like general, like outcast type shit. But
Right.
then I would also have the superiority of like, actually, I'm the smartest autistic kid in school, so
Right.
fuck you guys.
Yeah. I was the tallest short guy as well, so I
was-
get what you're saying.
Yes, well, I was pretty tall too until 8th grade started hit, and then everyone else hit puberty, and I hit puberty super quick. But in Massachusetts, I started getting like, because I lived in a super white place, like Easton, Massachusetts is the whitest liberal place in Boston,
Right.
ever. And like all against cyberbullying, you can't really get away with too much shit. And then I was kind of a part of, I guess, the quote unquote bullies, but like the bullies in Easton, or the middle school that I went to, they would bully the teachers. Like that's what we would do, is like, let's make fun of it and piss off the teachers. Let's do that instead of like bullying the other kids.
All right.
And I did get a little bit more of like, oh yeah, no, this is a little bit rough here when I started drug dealing, because I would
Yes, that generally will make your life a little rougher.
Yeah.
You'll
yeah.
meet different characters.
Exactly. So I was this white kid who would go to like the trap houses of like Brockton, go pick something up, and then go back to Easton and then sell it to all the white kids for overpriced.
Yeah.
And then
That's the name of the game. man.
yeah, of course it is, because you need that white kid who is going to sell the other white kids, because they don't want to go to the other white kids. They don't want to go to a trap house in Brockton and go buy weed. Right? They have no interest in doing that, so they would come to me. And I was always doing like shit like that. So then I got robbed. I got scammed. I saw a gun in my car, and that like, yeah, I didn't ever get physically hurt, thank God. But yeah, I definitely came close a couple times, and then I ditched that and I did comedy. I was like, why don't we try comedy instead of selling drugs?
Yeah, instead of going trapping. Yeah, I think if I had seen you at the time, I would have probably recommended that.
Yeah.
Just by looking at you, I'd be like, this might not be the career path
Right.
you want, having 100 pounds of weed in your car.
Or selling acid and mushrooms. You don't want to be doing that. But
Yeah,
there's
you were selling white people shit.
white people shit. I didn't sell like any coke or meth or crack or anything like that. It was all white because that was my clients. It was all white people.
It was all rich white liberal kids.
Right, exactly. Who would, either they work all their week and then spend their paycheck on whatever shitty job that they had that they were working 20 hours a week through high school, or they would just take money from their parents because they had so much money, and then they would give it to me. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, I never dealt drugs, but I did sell weed once to my buddy. I had leftover weed and I sold it to him. Mm-hmm. And then I told my girlfriend at the time, and she got mad. She was like, my boyfriend is a drug dealer. So I just like stopped. But I made like $20. So I was in the drug trade.
Oh, well.
Short stint at a Catholic school.
Two drug dealers here with the podcast.
Yeah, for sure. I know the game in and out. No, I knew some of my buddies sold drugs. I would hang out with them.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, that's a common occurrence with comics because, I mean, drug dealers are pretty similar to comics because they're fucking addicted to something that's sort of an outcast thing that's against the law, and they're doing it all the time. They're getting addicted to selling drugs. But I don't think a lot of people understand this. The feeling of selling drugs is a high in and of itself. When you're driving around.
Yeah, people get addicted to selling.
Yes.
The whole game is addictive.
Yes.
I worked in a factory with this guy who got arrested for like felony possession of cocaine and selling it. And he was telling me, he was like, it was almost more addictive to be a drug dealer.
For sure.
Than to be on the cocaine. Because he was like, I'd go anywhere, get anything I wanted, make a shit ton of money. Right. The adrenaline rush of pulling it off. And, you get addicted to that and it starts like changing you. He said he got super fucking paranoid. And
yep.
He got to a couple points. He was like pointing guns in people's faces and shit. And he had like, he got arrested, so he did stop. But like for a while, getting sucked into that game is just as, if not more, addictive. So everybody's just caught in it.
And I had this weird transition period where I started the podcast and I was still selling drugs. So there was like this 5-month period of me having a podcast and still selling drugs. And if I go back and listen to it, I'm trying to like tell stories working around the fact that I was selling drugs and wouldn't say it. So it was hilarious. But then you also have the women. I mean, like so many, especially for my generation, it'd be like, give me a cart and I'll send you nudes over Snapchat. I mean, that was like common basis. And then,
that'll really do it.
Yeah, for sure.
More than why do you need the money?
Exactly.
You need money for the ladies. Seriously.
Yeah, no, you're right.
At a certain point, it's like the one bedroom is fine.
Right.
Unless you're trying to get laid.
Yeah.
And now I need some shit for my one bedroom. Got to buy candles. Got to buy supplies. Flaming hot Cheetos for my ladies, Got to keep them stacked up. Have a nice car. You can get a lady in the nice car. You know what I mean? So a lot of the whole motivation is really deep down. I feel like a lot of it's just to have sex with women.
Yes, of course. Well,
the drug dealing thing is like,
a lot of drug dealers are ugly.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
There's a reason why they're drug dealing.
Right.
And for me too, because through this time, I was fucking. I mean, number one, when I started selling drugs, it was during the pandemic, so I was addicted to weed already before the pandemic hit because I was sophomore and I just started smoking weed, and then there was no jobs, right? There was for like the 2 months where COVID first started happening, especially in Massachusetts, there was no real jobs unless you already had a job. You couldn't really get a job.
Right.
So then I went broke within a month because I was depressed. I was at home. I was smoking so much marijuana. I mean, just an insane amount of marijuana. And I couldn't get out of the house. And then you had George Floyd going on. And, all cops are bad. Fuck the police. And so it was like this whole thing. And then they put me on, because I was depressed and I had a psychiatrist. So then they fucking juiced me up with antidepressants.
Oh, yeah, the SSRIs?
Yep. And
yeah, I've been on those.
I was on 200 milligrams while I was drinking and smoking weed
God
every
damn.
single day. And then
So you didn't even have a brain.
No, I didn't have a brain.
You were just SSRIs, weed, and booze. You were just a machine.
There's so much going on at that point where it was just this perfect storm of me selling drugs every single day, 6 hours every day.
Right.
Just getting addicted to that because I didn't have anything else. And then also, I felt like even though that I didn't get bullied for being dyslexic in school, you're still like you're working twice as hard and only getting half as far from other kids. And so, but this one thing I was good at, I knew I was good at. So I loved it. I felt needed. People liked me because I responded to my phone. I showed up on time as a drug dealer, which for most drug dealers they can't do. But I was everyone's favorite drug dealer, and people would tell me that. So I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, like this is amazing! Like, I'm
you're the
good
man
at
now.
something. Yes,
Yeah,
I'm the man."
Yeah.
And so it was.
That's what they tell you
right.
when you're giving them shit.
Right, exactly.
Everybody loves you when you're giving them something.
Of course.
But are you really the man, or are you just giving them something they want?
You're just giving something they want.
Exactly.
They don't like
And when
you.
that shit dries up.
But you convince yourself they like you.
Right.
Like that's the thing that
Were
you
you one of those
keep
drug
telling
dealers
yourself.
that are you one of those drug dealers where you go to buy weed from you and now you have to hang out for like 3 hours?
No.
Okay.
I hated
we all
those
know
people.
we all know those.
Oh, I knew those especially.
There was a dude in Austin that one of my buddies used to buy Adderall from, and this fucker would. My buddy brought me over there to get Adderall from this guy specifically because he knew I would tell the guy that we don't want to hang out. So it wasn't even like I was there for safety.
Right.
It was me in there, and this dude would not shut the fuck up. And he'd bring me in every time about 10 minutes into the conversation and be like, we have something we need to do, right now. And I was there to sort of like just get everybody out of the fucking apartment. Because this dude he had no furniture. He was this crusty guy, overweight, long hair, just a couch, an Xbox, and a TV.
Yeah.
He had a roommate there that was this massive dude that looked like Xerxes from 300, a scary motherfucker who also had no furniture, just lived in there.
Oh my god.
And this dude would just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And it was this weird thing where you're kind of in this sketchy guy's apartment, so you don't want to be a dick.
Right.
Because what if fucking Xerxes comes out?
Right.
And is like, what are you guys doing? Is there a problem here? So you have to finesse your way out of the, which really at the end of the day just meant us telling him we gotta go. But in the moment it feels like you're like,
whoa, what's gonna happen
you gotta listen
here?
to this dude's stupid fucking theories
about 9/11.
about Mexicans or 9/11, dude. Now I gotta sit here. That's one of the realest costs of drugs is having to listen to these fuckers talk.
No, I was selling drugs while I was living with my parents. So if I wasn't out driving, I would tell people hey, you can come pick up drugs, but if you come in and leave, my mom's gonna be like, hey, what's going on? So I would be like, in advance, you gotta hang out with me for 2 hours if you come, or I can come drive to you tomorrow and it can be a quick 5-minute thing, or you gotta come hang out with me for 2 hours so it's not suspicious.
Yeah.
But I would let people know about that. But I didn't like doing that either. Like, because then you sold someone drugs, right? And now you're like just sitting there watching Family Guy with some dude who wants to leave, who doesn't want to hang out with you. And then it's just awkward. So I always prefer just going out driving and then
Yeah, I mean, a lot of
quick
those
5
dudes
minutes.
too. It's like deep down, this guy's gotta just be lonely.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he doesn't have shit
Right.
except Skyrim. I think that's what he was doing, which was bizarre to me because I'm sure he made a fucking ton of money.
Yeah.
But there was something about him where it was just like nobody.
Sad.
Yeah, we went in there one time and he had this like fucking injured chihuahua that he had picked up off the side of the road. He just had this injured chihuahua on his bed with like a broken leg. This dog is just like whimpering. And buddy like buys the Adderall off him and then he's like, I'm gonna show you something, and he like shows us a fucking injured chihuahua laying on a blanket on his bed. And immediately I'm like, this is like the last fucking thing on this planet I want to be dealing with right now. And he just starts talking to us about the chihuahua. And now we're in this long 30-minute conversation
Right.
about this fucking chihuahua. Because now he didn't do it on purpose. But it's like now what's keeping me here is trying to make sure this innocent chihuahua doesn't die. So now I'm trying to like help this guy find a home for the chihuahua. And now it's like this has been like an hour, 2-hour fucking ordeal with this asshole. Just an empty bedroom, just dirty shoes in a chihuahua. It was so fucking bizarre.
Yeah, and did you like try and teach it tricks? Like, did he
No,
show
dude, it
you
was
tricks with
injured. The
dog?
chihuahua could barely like get up.
That's so sad.
Yeah,
That's
he's
so
like, I gotta
sad.
take it in somewhere. I was like, yeah, you do have to take it in somewhere. He's like, where should I take it? And then I'd say where you should take it, and then he'd ignore me, and then just keep going. I need to take it in somewhere. I'd be like, I told you 8 times where to take it, and it like wouldn't register in this guy's brain. So it's just this endless looping conversation of where should I take it? You should take it here. Then he'd start talking about something else about the dog, and be like, I don't know where I should take it. And I'm like, dude, take it here. Yeah, it's terrible.
Was that in North Carolina?
No, that was down here.
Oh, that was down here.
Yeah, in an unnamed location.
Oh, wow.
Unnamed person, unnamed location.
For
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
We'll keep it at that.
Yeah.
You said in your bit the other day that you lived in Chicago for a little bit. Was that real? Or
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. When did
That was
you?
for comedy.
Oh, that was for comedy. So you moved down from North Carolina to Chicago?
Yeah. I was like 2 years of comedy in North Carolina and then went to Chicago. Came back like right when COVID started.
Mm.
Right when COVID started, I had like 1 month left on my lease. And they had like rumors going around that they were going to shut down the highways in Chicago to like quarantine the whole city.
Whoa.
Here's the thing too though. I worked in a factory making chairs.
Mm-hmm.
And the rumors that go around there are usually horseshit, but I didn't even want to question it
Sure.
because I was like, I'm not getting stuck in Chicago during the possible apocalypse. So I just grabbed me and my buddy, and we threw a bunch of shit in my car, like everything I could move out of my room that would fit, and we just like drove down that night.
Wow.
And then I came back like a month later when I realized things were fine to get the rest of my stuff out.
Mm.
But yeah, that's how I escaped the city.
Wow.
Just fucking drove down with my buddy.
I mean, but during that time though, we didn't really know what the fuck was going on. There was a 9:30 curfew in Massachusetts, where you had to be at your house at 9:30.
Yeah, that one always confused me because it
'Cause-
was like, can it spread during the day too? So why do I have to be
Yeah.
like? It doesn't really have like a.
Yeah, COVID's nocturnal. It sleeps during the day.
Yeah, it's only you can only catch it at night when you're trying to have fun with people. It's the only time it gets caught. Yeah, but Chicago was I didn't like it very much at all.
You didn't like it? How
I
long
didn't
were you
like
down
the
there?
scene at all.
2 years, you said?
About 3, I think.
3 years.
Yeah.
When would you? How was the comedy scene down there like?
Brutal.
Brutal. Like it doesn't seem like there was a lot of. I mean, I could be wrong, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of open mics down there right now. Was there a lot of open mics 3 years ago, or?
I mean, there was
a
a lot. I think COVID really cleaned the city out, in the scene out. But for a while, it was really there's a lot of mics. It's popping off. You can do like 3, 4 a night.
Oh wow.
But the problem is like all the mics in the city were just the other comics that were at the other mics. There rarely would be an audience for anything.
Oh.
And the problem, what's beautiful about down here is like people come out to see shows. In Chicago,
Right.
they wouldn't unless it was a big name club. So like
Right.
you can actually run an independent show here.
Yes.
In Chicago, you couldn't really do that because, I mean, if you think about how the city is designed, it's all these buildings stacked up next to each other. You know what I mean? And it's like, if something sucks, you can go next door to something amazing in like 5 seconds.
Right.
So like if you have an independent show, there's only like 6 people in there. I mean, people are going to look in and see it and kind of be like, no, we're not.
We're not doing this.
We're not doing this. Yeah, it was super tough. Most of the independent shows had nobody at them.
There's a culture in Austin of going out and seeing live music, and that's always been here since like the 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
From what I hear, right? I
Yeah,
wasn't here, but that has kind of transitioned to watching open mic comedy or just comedy in general.
Yeah.
I mean, how often will just one random dude go to an open mic and stay there the whole time?
It's really bizarre.
It's weird. It's
Yeah, it's-
weird and it's strange.
It's like
It's cool. No, I like
it's
it.
definitely cool, but it's like sometimes you're watching and you're like, what do you have going on
Right.
that you're here at the creek in the cave watching people bomb for 3 hours? I mean, I guess people don't have much going on in their lives, or
I don't know. I don't understand it because I mean, just last week, someone was at Axis, and the whole time it's some shitty bar on a Monday night.
yeah,
The entire time, 3 hours. They're there the whole time from beginning as soon as I got there till the end
yeah,
of the show. I got there late, but he had already seemed like he was there for a little bit.
yeah,
And then I saw the last of people go up, and he was still there the whole time.
yeah.
Very strange.
No, it's bizarre. I think people here just like going out,
Right. Yeah.
and there's like an actual interest in comedy here. I think some people kind of. Lex Friedman used to go to the open mics.
He did?
Yeah, he would go to the one at Buzzmill on Tuesday. You used to be able to just see him there.
What?
And he would just be there dressed normally, like t-shirt, gym shorts, and he'd grab like a drink or something, and he'd just stand in the back and just watch everybody eat shit the whole time.
That is
he's
crazy.
Yeah, and he said he was fascinated by it, just watching people eat shit and try to do comedy while they're eating shit. Yeah, I don't know what makes people tick. I mean, I might, if I had never been around comedy or an open mic, I might sit through a full one.
Right.
But if you have to do it every day, all day,
Yeah.
you're like, there's no fucking way you can make me watch this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You
no,
mind if I
no way.
take bathroom break real
Oh
quick?
yeah, no. Let's pause. We've been recording for a really long time. We'll be back, ladies. That's the thing with the audio interfacer. That's what's able to have us hear what we're saying each other,
Yeah.
and go into and still be recorded to the computer. Which I think that just changed. I mean, I remember because I did 40, 50 episodes without the audio interfacer because my parents are like. They grew up poor, so like if I want money from them, I have to show them that I'm trying, which is good. I'm not being like, oh fuck my parents. I have to like work for their money. But
Yeah,
like they're like like no, you have to fucking show us what you want to do. So like the
Right.
first 40 episodes, just I mean they were tough. Number one, because I was terrible at I was 17 and I was bad at talking, and then. We didn't have an audio interfacer, but as soon as I got an audio interfacer, I just remember like everything sort of changed. Like my whole mentality on podcasting sort of changed because it was the first time that you could just be locked in to what someone else is talking about. Like there's
Right.
no You can't think about anything else. You're hearing what you're saying, and then you're hearing what the other person is saying. And then it also makes it easier to just like, hey, let's make sure that you're being heard, right? Like at the other podcasts, like if you were quiet, right, and the microphone was too far, I
Yeah.
had no idea. So I would
yeah.
record for 2 hours or whatever, and then go back and re-listen to it and go, you can't hear the other person at all.
Right.
Like at all. And like there's a switch right here which is the off and on button, and I can't tell you how many times that would just get switched and I would have zero idea.
That rocks.
Yeah. So I
And
mean,
it's just you talking to nobody. You just sound like a crazy person at that point. Yeah.
but I always I said this to Don one time. Whatever podcast you listen to or whatever, there's probably another 100 episodes that they never uploaded, just for technical reasons that didn't get picked up, or there was a problem with maybe it just wasn't going right while you were recording, or the mic was whatever, something
bad happened,
and you just got to get used to preparing for all that and making sure all that is not going to happen.
Yeah, well, it's nice to come in some places it's like professional,
Right. I try to make it.
That makes it so much easier on everybody.
I try to be the easiest, like, because there's no, I mean, for you, there's no real benefit to coming on this. I thank you for doing this. It's awesome to have you here. But
Well,
like,
this is fun.
Right.
I don't have shit to do.
right. That's what I try to make it, though. Is like, I want it to be the least, less stress for you. Because I feel like, there are some people who have podcasts where they're just getting started out and they don't really know what they're doing. And then, right, just like the comic thing. They're not good at scheduling time.
Yeah, well, it's good to just come in and sit down and just start talking.
Right, exactly.
Because, I mean, I do like a podcast with, I've been working on it with my buddy, Matt Amos.
Yeah, I know Matt Amos, yep.
Yeah, we've been working on podcasting together. And it almost would be nice to just have a setup like this.
Right.
Because then we could just come in and sit down and do it. At
Exactly.
the beginning of every podcast now, it's like take the shit out, set it up, get it dialed in.
Yep.
And then after like 30 minutes of that, you're like, fuck, we got to
record.
Now we got to start like talking.
Well, that's the thing is, there's so much. This is the best part about podcasting, is just sitting here and talking to somebody. And I love this. This is so much fun for me.
Yeah.
But everything after this sucks. Like, it's just terrible. The uploading to YouTube, uploading to Spotify. I make promo clips. So then I have to sit down and go through and find, funny clips and put those together. And then I cap cut it. And then I put captions on it. And then sometimes recently, like, I haven't uploaded a promo because my most recent promo got deleted. Right. So now I have to start from scratch with that promo. And I put all that work in, and you get 2 minutes of something where most people aren't even going to sit through those 2 minutes.
Right. They're going to watch about 10 seconds.
Yes. And you put all this work into it, and it's like, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, but that's,
That's the game.
That's the game. Mm-hmm. That's what it is.
But,
if you can really, if you can be really invested in the process of something,
right,
you do pretty well.
Yeah.
It's more just like committing to the process and enjoying the process.
Right.
Than really like the final result.
Yes.
Like the comics that make it really love working on comedy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're not sitting around like, why hasn't this happened to me? Because they're just caught up in writing new things and working on comedy.
Yeah. I think it's so hard when you get started. And going back to, like, there's a lot of delusion, especially in the open mic scene. I mean, there are so many people who are like, I'm going to move down to Austin, and within a year, I'm going to go and kill Tony, I'm going to murder, and then I'm successful now. And that's just not the case. It's not what happens.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people have the cart before the horse, in my opinion, where it's like if you're going to sell out a venue for an hour, the product that you're selling is your act. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's your T-shirt, that's your iPhone. And like a lot of people, they just want to be the person that like everybody knows is like sold the iPhone. They
Yeah.
they want the money from that.
Mm-hmm.
They want the success from that. But it's like the only thing that's going to hold it up is how quality your act is. So it's like you have to, you know what I mean? That's the most important thing is putting together that hour and that product and, you know, going through that process.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, I'm going to show up here. I'm going to get a big name. I'm going to do this and that. And it's like, but you have nothing to stand on.
Yeah.
If you didn't go into the lab and design something
Yeah.
to be stood on, you know, like what's going to happen? Like a year in, you're going to go do Kill Tony and, you know what I mean? None of the discussion that these people have, or maybe in their head, it's like you're not even worried about the thing that's actually would sustain you at Kill Tony or anywhere else.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I noticed that a lot with certain people, especially now in the social media era, where you kind of like you can kind of go in there and get somewhat of a name. Like, I mean, one thing you do for like a minute can get like 10 million views.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you have like a bunch of followers and stuff. But it's like, what do you have to even give them at a certain point?
Exactly.
And I think people are really focused on this, like, this marketing game and coming up. And I really think that should be the second thing. I think if the act and the product is good enough, it's in a way it markets itself.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like even the iPhone, when it came out, those commercials were like really interesting and cool. But all Steve Jobs really had to do was go out on stage at the product reveal and just show them the fucking phone.
Right.
Because it just was amazing.
Right.
So it's like if your act is that good, if your act is so good, you can hang on a tour with, you could go up after Bill Burr. If you could be that funny, that hilarious for an hour, you will have a comedy career.
Yeah.
You might not be famous, but you will pay your bills.
Yeah.
If you're in the top 10 funniest people in the country consistently, then it's made for you.
That's all I've ever wanted. I mean, that's all I could stay in this apartment for my entire life, and this could be my podcast setup forever, and I could just, put more posters up, get more webcams, get better quality microphones and stuff like that, and I would be so happy if I could just, that's it. That's all I did. I did podcasting during the day. I scheduled things, blah, 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 and then at night I went out and I did, an hour or whatever. But
yeah.
I think that, you said like the process and really enjoying those 10 years where you're developing your act is you might have a good minute in a year. You can develop that. But do you have anything after that minute?
I would hope you have a minute in a year.
Right.
I mean, Jesus. I mean, it takes a long time too to even get good at comedy. But once you figure out how to start writing jokes, you better have a minute in a year, man.
Yeah. I mean, I think I have like a good 8 minutes. Good is, that's maybe overplaying it. I have an okay, decent 8 minutes. But if you come and go see me for those 8 minutes, I might make you laugh for those 8 minutes. But if you try and come see me again, it's going to be the same 8 minutes. I need a whole nother year to develop another 8 minutes. You know what I mean? And
well, it took Louis C.K. almost like a decade to write his first hour.
Right. Of course.
I mean, I've been in it for around 6.5, around 7.
Mm-hmm.
And the longest that I've done is 27 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But that also, like, I listened back to it. A lot of the stuff was in the room, at the bar. A lot of stuff was, like, contextual in the moment. Can't really replicate it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm looking back at this, like, is that actually stage time? Do you know what I mean? Is that
Yes,
actually,
of course.
is that time though? Like time, like stage time to me, at least in my head, is like tight material that's crushing that you can bring anywhere
Mm-hmm.
in any given circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really like me being on stage for 27 minutes and riffing a lot and like being around in the room. I'm able to do that amount of time,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not technically like to me 27 minutes of time.
Mm-hmm.
That's not really material
Right.
in the same sense, you know.
Well, Bert Kreischer talks about that as he realized once he started doing stadiums, right? Because you can't do that with stadiums because you'll look at the guy in the first row and be like, look at this idiot or
And
whatever.
everybody's like, we can't.
We can't see them.
We can't see them at all. We can barely see Bert Kreischer.
Right. So you need a good solid hour that's going to make everyone in the entire stadium laugh without any risk, without any whatever. And that's really hard to do. But there is a talent to riffing in the room as well.
I mean, yeah, there's a thing was like you can riff. I feel like you could riff in the stadium. It just
Yes.
couldn't really be crowd based or room based.
No.
So like, I mean, you could take a bit and rearrange it and maybe riff in the bit
Right.
while you're doing it. But there's an element to like when I did 27 minutes, it's for like 8 people at like a bar show.
Mm-hmm.
I was standing on a stage like 10 feet in front of them.
Right.
So it's like a different thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like we're hanging out in a room, everybody can see the room.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows what's been going on
Mhm.
all night. You know, everybody's been watching the same show. You know what I mean? And that's that type of element. You can't really bring that to like a stadium. I would also I've been trying to like I've been at the mothership like maybe like 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get into that room too, the little boy and they like cut the lights off or you're doing the mic, there's something in the room where the vibe is not such that you can just come up loose like you're at a bar.
Yeah.
And be like, what's up? Like people don't really have patience for it, and also they only give you a short amount of time.
Mm.
It's very structured and they're like rifling through every fucking comic. And also like it's nerve-wracking because you want to do well.
Mm-hmm.
It's rare that unless you work there
Yeah.
that you often get stage time there.
Mm-hmm.
It was like every time I've been there, my adrenaline's been jacked. So it's like the best thing to do is come in and not even fuck around. Just go. You want to have bits that you can just fall back on.
Mm-hmm.
Because the whole experience is going to be just really intense.
Right.
You know, and if you have some shit memorized that you can almost like shut your brain off and just do, that's the way, at least that I see it right now, where you could like, it's probably the best way to succeed there.
Mm-hmm.
Just get in, be a professional, make people laugh, show that you can write a fucking joke, and then just leave.
Right.
You know, instead of meandering around being like, what's up? These fucking people in the front look weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's almost like that type of comedy to me at a certain point is almost like a luxury.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like the riffing and the time it takes to kind of like meander through something. That's when you like you're headlining or you've like earned like 15 to 20 minutes
Yeah.
at like a club. You can kind of slow down. But when
Yeah.
you're jam packed with like 40 people on a list
Yeah.
and you're all doing 3 minutes at a club, it's like just you got to get to it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Do you think? Do you think that? Oh shit! That's not what I was gonna say. I'm sorry, my brain malfunctioned there for a second. Going back to like my decent 8 minutes. Like I did 3 shows in 1 week, and that was my first week doing shows, and I did really well at the boat with Brian's show.
Yeah.
And then same exact, 8 minutes or whatever, I bombed at Simply Courtney's drag comedy show, and they just did not fucking like me at all. I mean, they didn't like me. The drag queens hated me. And then... And then,
really? You're not their type of guy?
I guess I'm not their type of guy.
With the fucking mesh hat in the beard, in the Santa Cruz tie-dye t-shirt? You're not exactly relatable.
No,
Selling weed to white kids out of Massachusetts. The drag queens couldn't relate.
No.
Hey, that's a tough group to relate to.
No,
Unless you are a drag queen or in the queer community.
yes, of course.
It's a pretty niche audience, my dude.
But again, and that's why I try to tell myself is to not get down on myself, but also, right, you want an 8 minutes that's going to work for everybody. You want that killer 8 minutes that you can go up and just do.
Respectfully, I would disagree. Respectfully. This isn't even trying to shit down your throat.
No, I know. Go.
I would say you want in 8 minutes that's going to crush for most people.
Right.
And I would pay attention to laughs in a certain way because you want, at least this is just my theory right now, is you want people that really fucking love what you do.
Mm-hmm.
That are going to follow you. You don't want to be just good to every single person.
Mm-hmm.
If you can have a dude falling out of his chair at one show and then you bomb for drag queens, that's a better sign than just being all right for everybody. At least in my personal opinion, because the dude falling out of his chair can really latch on to that.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone else is really upset by it, has a polarizing sort of element to it, which means it has a uniqueness and it's coming from a place that's not so generic and accessible to everybody that, you know, the people that love it will really grow to love it and to hold on to it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's stories like Bill Burr, like, said his first 11 years of comedy, it was a coin flip whether or not the audience, he was going to bomb or not. But that's because his style of comedy is, it's like contrarian.
Right.
Like his whole thing was like, you think this thing about women? Well, my bit's going to be the opposite.
Yes.
You know, like that whole bit where there's like, they say there's no reason to hit a woman. And he goes, I can name like 13 off the top of my head right now. Just that statement in itself, it's one of the greatest bits that he's done.
Yeah.
And it crushes for his audience.
Yeah,
but there's no fucking way he did that around the country and everybody was just like, yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, a lot of people had to have heard that and misinterpreted it.
That's true.
And that's, you know, you go on the road too and you see a lot of older road comics that have spent a lot of time being likable and trying to please everybody. And there's nothing memorable about it. You know, comedy is, it's an art in a way, and a lot of art is just creating emotions in people. So you could create a laugh, or you could hit somebody in a place where it creates frustration, or they're just disgusted. But that's the same, it's in the same spot.
Right.
It hits people in a place that's a little bit deeper than the surface, and that might mean that you're onto something. You know what I mean? It's, you know, you try to do it for every single person everywhere. It just can't, bro. It can't happen.
That's true.
Unless you're like, I'm just going to do something about how my cat is silly. And then eventually by trying to reach everybody, it just becomes kind of flat.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's also like, you go to these drag queen shows and there's like, there's contextual things that are going on around you. That's the complicated part about comedy. It's like every comic will go through like crushing at one place, and then the next audience isn't just with it or feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And you got to kind of go back and assess. It's like, was I off? Which is 95% of the time the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Was I off, or was the material not what they wanted?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Did I miss something that was happening in the room? You know what I mean? I wouldn't say that, like, that's your 8 minutes failing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe go back and reassess it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But the boat show is a completely different environment than
Right. The drag comedy show.
a drag comedy show.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, and then the next night I did the Hideout Theater. I don't know, they did a late night laughs show, and I did really well there.
So,
Same 8 minutes, a
that's what I'm
day
saying. Like,
apart.
I have jokes in my act that like are just staple jokes that I know I'm gonna keep until I record an hour or a half hour or whatever. You know what
Right.
I mean? Until it's recorded, I'm keeping these, and like sometimes people just don't like them,
Yeah.
and you just I don't understand what it is. You know?
And that's so true with Bill Burr because I mean one of his greatest legendary moments is the Philadelphia rant, where he
Yeah.
just goes off at the fucking crowd, and the crowd doesn't really like that, but I mean when you watch it,
I mean, they learned to like it. I mean, they went from booing him in the beginning to cheering.
right, that's true.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, but that's a whole thing too, where it's like that was an amazing rant, but that's purely in the room. That
Yes.
wasn't like he's like, I'm gonna add this to
No.
my hour.
Right.
It's not an hour. That's like the way he described it. It's like it's almost like something that needed to happen,
Yeah.
or maybe it didn't need to happen. Like he didn't need to do it, but he was just inspired to do it in the moment because they were being so rude to everybody, and everybody was bombing, and there was like great comics on the lineup, and nobody appreciated it. So he just like went off on them, you know. Yeah, it happens, man. Like it's not. I mean, it's not gonna be every room in a lot of the thing too at this level is like you're not really working in a club all the time.
No.
In the club is like the neutral standard. Like an audience at a club, I'd say that's like zero. You
Yeah.
know, and some of these shows are off or something you don't even know who's gonna be there, what the fucking room is gonna be like, you know. You drive down to the middle of fucking nowhere and nothing's set up, and then 8 people only show up and the room is gigantic, and you're like, okay, so now this is like this is a whole different fucking thing than just going up at like the Mothership, for instance, where it was like
Right.
designed for comedy.
Right.
That puts you in a whole different, it puts everybody on a completely different frequency. That once you get experience and you work a lot there, that's like, I think that's where comics really start to find their voice.
During the clubs.
Yeah, just working for audiences. I don't think mics is where you find your voice. Mics can help write new things, and it's really good for young comics to get the experience they need without having any added like pressure on it. But at the same time, like at a certain point, the mics aren't as conducive as you might think they are.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's got to be in front of people for you to develop that style and that voice. And it's like, what better place than a place that was designed for comedy?
Yeah. That was one of the unique things that I love about comedy is in other art forms you ask like what's a big moment in movies, and it's like, okay, well, when Psycho was released, or when The Shining was released, or The Dark Knight was released. These are big, or Oppenheimer and Barbie. Like these are big moments where it has to do with someone releasing something. Same thing with music, like Led Zeppelin or Queen. But with comedy, it's moments. It's moments that are big. It's Lenny Bruce being arrested. It's George Carlin going on national television doing the 10 things you can't say. It's Bill Burr yelling at the Philadelphia. It's Dave Chappelle walking away from the Dave Chappelle show. It's Joe Rogan yelling at Carlos Mencia. Like, those are the big comedy moments that I've always loved. But those moments, they're only moments. They're not, you can go back and watch The Shining and enjoy The Shining. But you're never going to be in that Philadelphia room again.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's a beauty of comedy, is completely live.
Yeah.
You know, it's a you had to be there
Yes.
art form for sure.
Right.
I mean, a lot of those albums are classic, but that, like they say, it's almost your special is like an advertisement to come see you live.
Right.
Yeah, I think Rogan said that about Joey Diaz too, where it was like he would destroy so fucking hard that you couldn't even really describe it.
Right.
Where you were like, you just had to be in that room because it was like unreal. And then the special was like all right, but it's like that's not what Joey Diaz was.
Yeah.
Like the art form is it just happens in the moment. The whole thing happens there, which is probably that's why I think it's one of the hardest art forms.
Yeah, for sure.
Might even be the hardest thing in art, because a lot of these albums you can go back and rework it.
Yes. Right.
I mean, you're essentially like, if it was that way in music, it's like every album would have to be recorded live and mixed live all in that moment. And then if it didn't happen, it's just not ever going to be there. That's insane.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure. And I like, even when you watch a comedy special of somebody, the environment is completely different when you watch it alone or you watch it with a group of people.
Yeah.
Because, laughter is naturally contagious.
Yeah.
When someone else starts laughing, you want to start laughing. I mean, that's just sort of how it is.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, especially because when you're watching a comedy special, you might zone out. Like, that's a big thing where you zone out and then you hear the audience laughing or whatever. But, you can still kind of zone out when the audience is laughing. But if you're sitting next to somebody and they're laughing and you're not laughing because you zoned out, you're like, oh shit, what did I miss that my friend right next to me is laughing while I'm zoned out?
Right.
And so, I mean, that just takes into the play of it always being live.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it has to be. I mean, I don't know, something weird happens in comedy where everybody in the room, by volunteering to get and sit down in an audience, everything becomes like this hive mind.
Yes.
Where like everybody's on the same frequency.
Right.
This is a weird shit that happens in comedy where like if a comedian is bombing, you can feel the room get uncomfortable. And that's so wild to me where it's like someone's doing bad. If the comedian is nervous, the crowd gets nervous. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, of course.
If the comedian is crushing, the crowd's on it. I mean, when you're really doing well at stand-up, it feels like everything and everybody is just like on the same page in a same groove where it's like you don't even have to say certain things to them, like they just understand it.
Yeah, Joe Rogan calls it like a group hypnosis.
Yeah, like it is like hypnosis.
It's where everyone's almost hypnotized by one person and they're all listening to them, and you're getting inside that person's mind for a brief second,
right.
brief minutes or whatever amount of time you have.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess movies and I guess most art probably does hypnose people in that way.
For sure.
Like a great movie, like you don't remember it's a movie when you watch it.
Right.
You're just in it.
Yeah, but you can go, like, the most recent movie I watched that I didn't watch was that I had that feeling of hypnosis was Prisoners. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
Seen it.
It's with Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Okay.
It's a great movie. You should check it out. I don't know if you've seen the scene of "Where's my daughter?" or heard that sound or whatever, but that's from that movie.
Is that where the girl gets kidnapped?
Girl gets kidnapped.
I think I have seen that one.
I mean but you can.
Is that they end up? Spoiler alert.
Yeah, skip ahead
like 10 seconds, or they end up in the fucking like underground thing.
Yes. Yeah. But you can watch that alone. Like you can enjoy that alone. And the interesting thing is with books that I've never liked about books is that is a solo experience. No one else is going to be like, it's weird if you and I were to sit together and we're like, let's read a book together.
That'd be so gay.
It'd be gay.
That'd be the gayest. I mean, even homosexuals don't do that. That's one of the gayest. We're sitting next to each other reading the same book.
Right.
That's too much. That's not meant to just spend the $20, you fucking weirdo.
Right.
Go get a copy from Barnes and Noble. We can have book club later. To sit next to another man and read the same book as him is just so. That's like something your grandfather would like beat you for. Like coming out of Korea.
Fucking fag.
Yeah, that give them fucking PTSD or something. They throw you off a roof for that in Saudi Arabia. Just fucking reading a book next to another man. reading the same book together. That gets you killed in a lot of the world.
For sure. I
You
mean,
don't want anybody
it might
seeing
be
you
gayer
do that.
than sucking dicks. I mean,
Oh, it's much gayer than sucking a dick. I don't know. That's not meant to be done.
So it's just
That's
weird.
a weird image. Yeah.
It's so strange because certain art forms are you have to do it with people. Some art forms you have to do it solo, and then movies and music are kind of that middle ground where you can kind of get away with either one.
Right.
And it's weird. Art is weird. I love it though. I really do love it. Do you have any desire to be any type of other artist, or is it just comedian?
Oh, I make all types of art.
Okay.
I have a bunch of paintings at home.
You paint.
Well, I scribble.
You scribble.
Yeah, I get a lot of paint, and then I just do random shit till
Sure.
it looks good.
Sure.
But I've done that. I wrote one draft of a sci-fi novel, first draft.
Oh wow.
Made a bunch of sketches in high school. Made some recently. I used to make beats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love creating things. I love making art. Because it helps me a lot with boredom.
Right.
I get bored really easy, and like a lot of times I'll just like sit down and write something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I'm consuming something, I usually read, or I've fucked around on YouTube and Instagram a lot.
Yeah.
Trying to cut that shit out, but yeah, I mean, when I get bored, I really like to just sit down and just make something new, anything, just for the sake of doing it.
Yeah, and you're doing podcasting as well, which there is sort of an art to talking, right? And doing this and making your thoughts sound good, and especially when who are you doing with the Matt?
Matt Amos.
Matt Amos is like now you guys are doing like a dance, right?
Right.
Almost with your words, and you have to make it sound interesting, and you have to go back and forth with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, that's a whole nother art form that you're doing.
Yeah, and I think honestly, dude, the audio, we might have to get like a solid audio interface,
Yeah.
or at least plug maybe headphones into it,
Yeah, of course.
because the headphones help. Because we're just doing like 2 live mics, chilling in his room, and the audio is fine.
Sure, of
But
course.
I think there's something on the connectivity of the headphones that helps a lot.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can get a cheap one for $200. I mean, cheap. But, like, you can get a less expensive one. It's usually $100 per port. So if you want 4 microphones, it's going to be $400. If you want 3, that's going to be $300. And
Okay.
then usually the baseline is $200 with 2 mics.
Yeah.
But I love Focusrite. It was kind of challenging setting it up on the computer, which I can just help you do that if you want.
Do you have a Windows?
Yeah, I have a Windows.
Does it have to be Windows?
No, it doesn't have to be Windows.
Okay, they
In
can
fact,
put on Mac.
I've heard some people say that it's actually easier on a Mac than it is a Windows. That's one
Okay.
of the very rare things because
Huh.
a lot of people, Apple's kind of made it a goal that they want to be the ones who own music, right?
Right.
And they
They've
want
made that pretty clear.
Yeah, I mean, with buying Beats, by Dr. Dre, and then they, do all the AirPod stuff and
Yeah.
like that. But especially with recording, the easiest thing with doing like clips and editing and stuff like that is AirDrop. I mean, AirDrop
Okay.
is so. I don't know what I would do without AirDrop because you can just through Bluetooth. It's serious. You can drop a 5-minute clip with
Easy.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
Rather, you have to convert it or you have to send it over email, and the quality doesn't hold up, and it's just like a whole shit show. Rather, AirDrop is like, and it's there.
Yeah, that's good.
And so I always like, if you can do a Mac, go Mac. For sure.
Yeah.
If you have a laptop, it's going to be a problem with storage. So you might just have to buy because the recordings, they suck up all your storage. But you might just have to buy like a little storage thing.
Or maybe like a terabyte hard drive.
Right.
They just drop it on there.
Yeah, I have a 2 terabyte thing connected to this computer, and I mean, it's just fucking. I mean, I've recorded 150. I still probably could record 150 more.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, 2 terabytes is. I mean, terabyte is good enough. I mean,
Yeah,
if you're okay with cleaning out house sometimes with your recordings, terabyte will get you real far.
Okay, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, do something like that. Yeah, we need to get like something dialed in.
Mm-hmm.
Would be nice to even have like just a setup like this.
Oh yeah.
Because you could just flip everything on, right? And it's ready to go.
It's ready to go. All
That's
right
dope.
there.
Yeah.
What episode are you guys on?
Oh, dude, we've only recorded 4.
4. Oh, you're in like the baby days with podcasting. So I mean, there's no rush, right?
And I really, dude, I don't really give too much of a shit about quality, even though these mics sound fucking great.
Right.
And it makes it easier. But like the live mics do as much as they need to.
Yeah, they're fine.
They're fine, and you can just. What do you have, like a gate on this? Is this getting too technical for the audience?
No.
You put a like compressor. What do you? What's your demo for audience members? You think
Demo?
your demographic?
It's a lot of people from Massachusetts.
Okay.
Who listen. It's a lot of people from Erie who still like a couple of my buddies.
Oh, we were
from
just
Erie.
shitting on them.
Yeah.
We just called them all fat fucks, man. God damn.
Yeah.
Not you guys. Okay, Erie. We meant the other fat fucks from Erie. The other people that bullied your beloved podcast host. Yeah, you didn't think this would happen, did you? You didn't think old dyslexia would make it this far, did you? Now we're calling y'all
here
out.
we are.
Yeah, you think about that. You feel guilty when you walk into Wegmans and leave with your big cup of cheese, and you waddle out with your wife that's half dead and your shitty little baby. That's what you think about. Didn't think dyslexia would make it.
No, they did not.
Dyslexia is on the come up. Your boy is he's gonna have millions. He doesn't give a fuck, dude. He's gonna buy a bomb and just blow you all up. Fucking big bomb. You're gonna die. You're all gonna die.
Erie's gonna be the next 9/11 you hear about.
Yeah. 9/12.
My buddy Noah.
Osama dyslexia.
Osama dyslexia.
He come in to kill a bunch of people from Erie, Pennsylvania. And you know what, Erie? You know what? No one's gonna give a fuck. No one's gonna give a rat's ass. They're gonna go on top of your dead bodies and build another Kmart on top of the destruction and the mayhem. And then a bunch of other people will take your place outside of the Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah, they'll just be worried if the sheets are still around.
Exactly.
If I don't blow up the sheets, everyone.
Well, if you don't blow up the sheets, it's not a crime against America. It's quote an accident. You blow up the sheets, it was targeted. They'll come for you. Don't touch the sheets, man.
But my buddy Noah from Massachusetts, he's listened to every single episode.
Yeah.
Every single one.
That's good. That's a good buddy.
So he's always been like, dude, you've come so far. You know, you've gotten a lot better. They're not jack shit anymore. They're actually somewhat listenable too.
Yeah, that helps.
And then my mom. That's it. So I got like two.
You have 2 fans, is what you're telling me.
I have 2 fans. I got 2 diehard fans.
God damn.
All right?
I'm glad I did this for 3 hours with you. These 2 fans.
My mom and my buddy Noah. That's it. That's what I got. But
that's your demo?
Yeah, I've also had my buddy told me that I like listening to some of your solo episodes just because it's interesting to hear someone from my age talk about certain things.
Yeah.
And get sort of the Gen Z perspective on things.
Right.
And try to be authentic because there's a lot of, the TikTok yellers or whatever. They're not authentic. They're not like that in real life, right?
Well, yeah, I'd hope they weren't. A terrible way to talk to somebody at any point in time.
Exactly.
I hate that. They have it's like the angle slightly above them, and they're like, I'm going to say that these drag queens are ruining our children.
Yeah.
While I stand in front of a mountain or something. It's like, is this what you do?
Yeah.
Like, it's weird, dude.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm a little old school, but there's something about, like, especially when, like, adults do it. Oh, my God. That you're like, you're a grown man.
Do you have rent?
You have something to do.
Yeah,
you gotta have something to do.
Right. And, I mean, that's the thing with, like, me is, like, I always am like, look, the Gen Z does care about certain things. Like, we don't want black people to get shot by the police. Like, that's like we would like that not to happen. We don't want to pay
I'm
$5.
glad you guys have come to that conclusion. It took you guys a while.
I know.
But as long as you figured out that murder is bad.
We came up with that. So
See,
I'm pretty proud of my generation for that.
See, baby boomers, they're not all lost. They finally understood that murder is bad.
Right.
Right.
But and then there's we don't want to pay for $5 per gas, right? We don't want that.
Nobody does.
Nobody does, right? And that's the thing that I get from.
So we got. Don't murder black people. Also, gas, a little expensive. So we're gonna tackle these two things.
And
two very complex problems.
And like, aside from, and of course, like taxes and stuff like that, but I always try to make it a point in my solo episodes is that we really don't know what's going on. We really, like, we'll pretend there are people from my generation who have Wikipedia, and they'll read a Wikipedia page about something, and they'll be like, I'm an expert. I'm like, no, you're fucking not, dude. Cut that shit out. Like,
that's another thing that's been going on.
Terrible. And I see
people where it's like, you are not qualified.
No.
I don't give a fuck what you say on your YouTube channel. You should not talk to me about capitalism versus communism.
No.
You don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Exactly.
This has been a debate for 100 years of scholars who've studied 40 years in the field. Shut the fuck up.
The only thing I have to say about communism and capitalism is there are people
Let's hear it. Let's go.
Who are a lot smarter than me who say capitalism is better.
Right.
And that's it. That's all I know. That's it. That's my opinion on the entire issue. And there are so many...
You like to read?
No, I'm dyslexic. So I try to... I should read.
Reading doesn't like you.
Reading doesn't like me.
Books don't like you.
Books don't like me.
Books fuck with you. Yeah.
Which is why I love...
you like the audiobooks?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And that's why I love podcasts as well, is because I feel like I get to get some information in a way where I'm not... I feel it when I read, man. You know what I mean? Like, I feel it when I pick up a book. I'm like, other people are better at this than me. Like, and that's just how it's
You can't really, like, outlearn dyslexia.
No.
You're stuck with that. What is it? Words are, like, backwards?
Yeah, so certain letters are, like, backwards. So, like...
That's fucked.
B's and D's are just, like, bloop. Or, like, W's and M's, like, bloop. Like, and, like... Right, and I guess I'm diagnosed with ADHD, which I don't know. I just call myself retarded. I don't really know. Like, I'm dyslexic and ADHD, and then I'm diagnosed with clinical depression as well, so I just call myself fucked up. Like, I don't know. There's a big thing with my generation where they're like, I need a specific thing to be diagnosed with so I can tell people what I need. And instead of just being like, I feel like in like people from the 90s or the 80s, they're just like, yeah, my brain's a little fucked up, which is sort of what I like to say. It's just like, yeah, no, I'm not right in the head, man.
Well, that's how it is, man. Like, that's how it used to be.
Right.
I'm just, what's wrong with him? Something's wrong. We don't even know. That's how they try to hit you up in Erie.
Yeah, exactly.
That we'll put them in the autism class. And it's like, it's so clear you guys don't even know what autism is. This is a class full of all types of people.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not just autism here. This is people that didn't learn how to read fast enough. And now we're in the classroom with this 6'5" guy that jerks off in the back. The real scary special ed kids. Yeah. But that's how it used to be, you know. It's seems like people nowadays use it as like personality points. Where there's like this is like an identity thing for me where it's like instead of having a personality you can be like I'm ADHD.
Right.
Depressive.
And like
and it's like also like life is super hard on
everybody.
99.999% of the people. So it's like if it wasn't going to be ADHD or depression or something, it was going to be something. Something was going to come up. It was going to fuck up your day.
Yeah, of course.
That's what it's supposed to, you know, that's what it does.
Right. And I try not to be like this. Like, I always say this is like my life is full of like really hard stuff and then really easy stuff, like super easy stuff. Like my parents could buy me an audio interfacer, right? Like most people's parents can't do that.
Yeah.
And I have the ability to move, like I can move all of my limbs, right? Like there are people who are paraplegic, right? So I really try to, be aware of that. Is like, no, my dyslexia and ADHD and depression, like, because that all worked together in school, because the dyslexia would act up, then I would get distracted, and then I would get mad at myself for being distracted, and then I would get depressed.
Right.
Rather, but also there were good things about my life that I need to acknowledge, right? And I try to not be like, oh, woe is me, I'm so sad all the time. Like, I don't need to be that. I can be...
Yeah, it's super annoying.
Oh, my God. I mean...
It's also really tough to be around those people.
Right, well, it's all social media now with my generation, because they all grew up on it. I mean, like... Dude, I started watching...
Yeah, you guys are fucking lunatics.
We're insane. I
You're
started
all
watching
insane
porn
people.
when I was 10.
That rocks.
Like...
I'm just that's a joke. That's not cool. It's not cool, kids. Don't do that. When I said that rocks, I did not mean that it rocks. I meant the opposite.
But,
no, that's way too early.
Way too early.
That's really way too early to do anything.
Yeah, 10?
10. You're not supposed to be doing shit.
Nothing.
You shouldn't be doing anything with your life.
No. And I was, going on the web in my bedroom alone. Like, so I understand where people want to hear shit from me that are my age, but also people my age don't have the attention span to listen to a podcast for 3 hours. So it's
dude, they don't have any attention span.
So it's a double-edged sword for me, where it's like, they would like to hear like a rational, somewhat rational. I'm a comedian, somewhat rational person talk about certain issues. Where, like, even with the Ukraine thing, where my whole point, like, I would talk about the Ukraine thing, where I'm like, yo, we don't really care. Like, people may pretend to care for my generation, but like, we don't know what's going on in Ukraine. We don't know what the complexity of like Ukraine versus Russia and all the history that goes into that. And also, we're all 19 and 20. We're all focused on either, passing colleges or getting our dicks wet. Like, that's about it.
Shouldn't that be what you guys are doing?
Right. And I don't think that...
Shouldn't, like, Ukraine be like an adult conversation?
Yeah. We're not supposed to be in that conversation. But
right.
A lot of people from my generation, and again, it's like the social media thing, because it's easy to pretend to care now. It's so easy.
Well, it's also like jammed in your face.
It's so jammed.
It's like it's never gonna stop.
No.
Your generation, you guys might grow into it though. You get a little bit older, you get sick of certain things.
We might.
Or maybe the
other
phones will just destroy everybody's brains before they can even get to it.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Who knows what's gonna happen?
Right. I don't know, but I just try and be authentic to me through this, and like just fucking talk, like be a 19-year-old. Just that's always what I've tried to do. Is like, don't pretend I'm 30. Don't pretend I'm like yeah. You can try and make your thoughts sound interesting, right? And you can take out and you can talk to older people and learn from them, but don't pretend that I'm like wiser than you or wiser than Joe Barksdale or whoever I have on.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't.
No, because it would come off as
yeah. I think
unauthentic.
What do I got, like 13 years on you?
Yeah, you got a fucking whole another decade of me.
Yeah, of just pure mistakes and debauchery. That's how you get wise.
Yeah.
A lot of people are intelligent. You become wise by fucking up. That's how I learned a lot of shit.
Right.
Making mistakes, You got a whole 13 years ahead of you to fuck this all up, man. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
What are you telling me about Ukraine? Ukraine should be your Ukrainian wars with your girlfriend. Trying to manage that. While she's shoving TikToks in your face at night. And you're trying to be an adult about this whole thing. Look at this. Does your girlfriend do that?
Yeah, she gets into like certain things. Like,
Dude, my girlfriend won't stop playing me TikToks, and it's like we've had some. It's gotten a little heated
I just tell her
because I tell her, I'm like, you need to stop.
yeah, it's not good for your brain. Like, focus on
Right.
paying rent. Like, just focus on going to work, paying rent,
Yeah.
and coming back. That's it. And focus on getting high and not doing so many drugs that you're gonna ruin your body. That's
Right.
it. That's what you should be doing at 19.
Yeah, yeah. You should be. Yeah, you should be kind of fucking off a little bit.
I
Go on
would
an adventure.
right.
Get herpes. I'm serious. Smoke a cigarette. Get a STD.
Yeah.
Maybe not a permanent one, but go get chlamydia. I'm serious. Like, have a story or something.
Yeah.
Get punched in the mouth or, like, you know what I mean? Like, do something exciting.
Yeah. I try
That's,
to.
Gen Z to me lacks that certain character. All the other generations had it.
Mm-hmm.
They hit a certain age and they got, like, certain, like, scars. And Gen Z is just, you look at them and they're so fucking clean and just... I don't know how to describe it.
Well, I think it's
I don't know how
also
to articulate it, but they just have this vibe to them.
Yeah.
Like, what have you guys done like anything?
no, I don't.
And they're like, we watch this shit on TikTok all day. I'm like, go like meet a homeless guy or something.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
You take away the cell phone takes away and video games too. Both of those things.
Yeah.
But I think video games is a lot better than fucking just spending hours of TikTok.
Oh, it's better than TikTok.
For sure, and especially if you're playing with friends, right?
Yeah.
You're at least getting some sort of.
A lot of those video games have really good stories.
Yeah, that's true too. There's a lot of good, like almost that's a brand new art form is video games now. Like not all of them. I'm not gonna say sitting and playing fucking Call of Duty for 6 hours is very.
Oh,
artistic.
that's a mind melting experience.
It is.
I've played with my little brother, a little bit, and every time I get off after like 2 hours, I'm like fried.
It's terrible. It has
It's like,
to be
dude, I
bad.
feel so stupid
Right.
every time I turn off Call of Duty specifically.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a sensory overload.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're getting just, and then you get mad too because you're getting just killed by children. Just getting, it sucks to be bad at it,
Yeah.
but then you can't stop.
No.
You get overstimulated, start getting mad at people, yelling at your mom or something. I don't know. Whatever you do.
I took like a long break from video games while I was down here when I first moved down here just because I was busy, just learning how to pay rent, keeping up with the podcast. I just started doing open mic, so there's a lot going on where I was like, maybe video games aren't like the best right now.
No, dude. They're like they're a time void. Man.
Yeah.
I got a copy of Starfield,
Mm-hmm.
and I was rocking that game, and then I realized like I looked at the time clock and I put in like 25 hours. And I was just like,
A day.
oh my
Over a day.
Over a day of my life.
Mm-hmm.
That's 25 writing sessions for comedy. If you think about it,
Yeah.
just sit down and write,
Right.
and I just didn't do that.
Right.
I was running around in space, shooting people with a gun,
Yeah.
which is sick.
Of
But
course.
it's also like could have been used more efficiently.
Mm-hmm. And I think a little bit helps, right? Everyone needs to have a little bit of fun. But,
Yeah.
you hit that 25-hour mark, you're like, "Ugh." I also feel like, for whatever reason, I get, like, when I play Call of Duty, I feel more racist after I'm done.
Is this a bit, or you really do feel more racist? Are you trying to pitch me your fucking 8 minutes of material right now? Because I will call you out on that shit. Don't you pitch me bits right now. We're not doing it right. Is this... You really feel more racist?
No, I mean, like, I haven't told that on stage, but I feel like just more angry afterwards.
For
Like,
sure, dude.
Yeah, like, the racism was a joke, but...
And I get that. But there's a... It's the beginnings of racism. It's not racism yet.
Yes,
You
exactly.
can feel it starting.
Right.
You're like, what is this inside of me? What is this rage?
Exactly.
And if you don't manage it early, it starts to get projected onto Asian people. Right? You can feel the start of it for sure.
Yeah.
Start to get real pent up and mad. And you start thinking of images of who are these people that killed me on this game. And you start filling in certain details.
Yeah, certain blanks.
And then you eventually realize all the people that have killed you on this game in your head are Chinese people. You're fighting the Chinese.
Yeah, well, it's just like you said, you do it for 2 hours. It's just adrenaline, pure adrenaline for 2 hours, and you're sitting down. You're not because when you run, there's adrenaline, but you're also burning that adrenaline while you're running because you're moving your body.
Right.
There's no moving you're moving your fingers.
Right. You're moving really just your thumbs, your fingers a little bit. You get all that adrenaline, and then you're also probably eating shit food.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I'm probably going to eat a frozen pizza later. It just occurred to me in my mind. But, yeah, you're eating bad food, sitting on your ass, taking in all that, and then also taking in the video game, and you just get real pent up.
It can't be good. It can't be good.
There's no way it's
There's
good.
no way. But
There's no fucking way that's a good thing to do.
Again, watch TikTok for 2 hours. I feel I've done that before. I don't do it anymore. Or I actually never go on TikTok. It's more always Instagram. But go on Instagram for 2 hours. Your brain afterwards is I can't focus on anything.
Right.
At least with video games, you're at least focusing on something, right?
TikTok is nothing.
There's nothing.
It just shuts your brain off.
Right.
And then you download Chinese propaganda. Whatever is in that algorithm.
Yeah.
That's more than Call of Duty. That's a great way to make somebody racist.
Oh, yeah.
It's just to put them down a YouTube rabbit hole.
And there's always one.
There's always... Those rabbit holes are always 2 steps away from Nazi. I think at least. If you do 2 wrong clicks on an offshoot, you start getting into weird videos.
Yeah, or Marxism, either one.
Yeah, it goes right to extremism.
Yeah.
I guess it's trying to attract your attention and to keep watching.
Right.
So it's got to give you more and more intriguing videos, and that whole thing it's going to spiral you into a weird place. Yeah.
I'm going to change the subject because we got, I assume you want to start getting going here. But
yeah, I got to hit a mic, I think.
For sure. So I want to ask you a couple more questions, and then I'll let you go.
Okay.
How do you write? How do you write new material?
Oh,
What's
Jesus Christ.
your best writing process?
I have an idea in my head. I talk it over with myself in my head, like the words, and then I take one notes about it for the viewers, this little guy, and then I'll write
keep that on you all time
every single day. It's always in my
Nice.
pocket. I take those notes just in case I forget it, because I think of a lot of things at work, where I'm gonna have a set in 5 hours,
right?
and then I go back with those bullet points and those notes, and I riff it out on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And then once it's riffed out, I take the audio, the sections of the audio that was good.
So you record it.
I record it, take the sections of the audio where it worked, write that down onto paper, and then I retweak it, and then go back, and then I do it on stage again.
And then you just
record it again and keep
adding taglines and punchlines.
adding taglines and sort of tweaking it.
Yes, of course.
But a lot of people start with writing first. I don't really start in that way. I start with riffing first. So I guess it's writing on stage. But yeah, I'll take it to a mic or someplace kind of low key. Then I'll riff it out, and then through the after it's on audio, then I'll write. That's when I usually will hit the notebook and add stuff afterwards,
Yeah, that's the most elaborate answer I've gotten for that question.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, for sure, because it's usually just I write it and I go up or whatever. But that was really that helps me a lot. That's why I always try and ask that question.
Yeah,
for new people coming on, is because how do you write? I want to, because I always try and learn stuff and whatnot.
Right. I'm also still in the process of learning how to have a process.
Right.
So
well, it
I'm
seems
in
like
the
you have a
process
pretty good one.
Yeah, and I let it also fluctuate. too. Like, it's not so rigid that I can't write on stage more or write something down in a paper that are on paper first. It's just usually how it goes. I don't do really well from, like, the first way it comes out for me needs to be with my mouth and words.
Sure.
Rather than writing, because if I write it, then I feel like I'm like doing what I'm saying, what I wrote, and there's like a disconnect there. Like, my mind works differently when I'm just writing on a keyboard.
There's that pressure. That pressure of the audience is right there, so you have
That's why I like to write on stage, is because the pressure of the audience, like, you can use the pushback from the audience and the pressure on stage to kind of help guide the bits. You know, when you're writing in your notebook, you don't really have that. You only have an idea in your head of what this could possibly be. You know, and that, for me, there's always like a disconnect. And it might just be I would need to sit down and really, really memorize what I wrote.
Right.
You know, but I feel like writing it on stage makes it more concise. And it kind of helps, like, guide me more. And there's so many opportunities for that. You just have to be willing to go up, like, a few times and really just get nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the other night at Wanderlust, I did that recess monitor story.
Yeah, that was, oh my gosh. So
I've
good.
thought of that, like, in the car
Oh, you did?
on the way over.
Wow.
So that was, like, the first time I had said it was, like, on stage.
That was the first time you said that joke?
Yeah, all of that. So I was like, do that in the car. Here's the problem, though, is I recorded it. Ever since that set, though, man, it hasn't been working.
Really?
And it might just be because I'm at mics. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
that's the thing, too, that I do is, like, there's, like, tiers in my writing where, like, if something works really well, like a mic, it kind of gets logged in my brain into a different place where, like, everything that's going on at mics reaches a certain point where it's like, now it's just time to only do this in front of an audience and work on it there. Because the problem with mics is they're so shitty and so inconsistent. Like, you have a joke that works good and it has potential and legs, and maybe you don't have the stage time in front of audiences to really do this, and I'm, like, lacking on it too at a certain point. But it is like there's a certain thing with mics where, you know, they're so inconsistent, so bad that you can take something that you've written and it works first time, everybody's caught up in it, and you do it again at, like, let's say, like, Lucky Duck or someplace where no one's fucking paying attention, and then you're mentally gonna, like, lose steam on this bit.
Right.
Like, the bit needs to kind of catch some momentum. You know what I mean? So I would take things that kind of work or are molded in a certain way, and I'm like, now this is in, like, audience place.
Well, that's amazing that you didn't even say that before, because it seemed like you switched sort of topics a little bit, but you stayed on, like, it was, you were here, and then you went to this place, and then it went to this place, and it was a natural sort of transition into different jokes and to different bits. It seemed like you had written that whole 3 minutes out before with transitions. And that's amazing that you didn't, or whatever it was, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
But, that's amazing that you didn't write any of that down. That's really impressive.
Yeah, I didn't write it down, but then, and thank you for saying that, but it also, there's a double-edged sword to that too. If I had written that down and been more organized with it,
Right.
might have been easier to take it to the next room.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there is a problem I'm running into where, like, transitioning this and bringing what happens in a room to another room, that's kind of like my next hurdle I need to, like, perfect. It's like how to do that. I think what's been helping me is I just listen to the audio and then I transcribe. Like, I'll literally go down and write out every word of the whole fucking set down. Okay. You know what I mean? And then you can kind of see the actual joke, like, what's kind of like fluff, and then you can kind of start thinking about how to make it come out of, like, a vacuum.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I do know. That makes a lot of sense. I've never done that before. I'm going to try that. Okay.
Write down every single word of your audio recording. And then you'll see when you're listening to it and writing it down, you'll see from reading it, like, what really isn't conducive at all.
Mm-hmm.
And you can kind of start to see, like, read the Bill Hicks book. There's one book he has where they transcribed all his sets. And you can see how great he was because the jokes being read on the page, when you read them on the page, they're funny. So, like, it was funny on, like, different levels. And then you can see the joke written out in how, like, perfectly articulated the sentences.
Right.
There are no, like, likes, vague words. It's all just perfectly articulated jokes that can be funny even being read on a page. And I think Carlin used to do where he'd just write. He was very much a writer, and then he'd monologue his writing.
Mm-hmm.
But what he would do is he'd just free write, like, a bunch of words, and then it would just go through filters of him processing it and tweaking it until it's like the final fucking joke.
Yeah, Carlin always said that he would write like one thing on a whole subject, right? His opinion on it, and then he would smoke pot and go back and like tweak it up with funny words.
Right. I mean, it's basically what his comedy was.
Right.
You know, he would like go back and tweak it. I think Louis doesn't write things down like that. He keeps bullet point lists. Mm-hmm. Bill Burr does that too. A lot of those 2000 seller guys worked like that. Mm-hmm. Like Patrice and Louis and Bill Burr and like Bobby Kelly. You can tell they're more from their heads, you know.
Right.
John Mulaney's clearly very written.
Right.
You know. Yeah, that process that I do might change, but it's also like, also an admission. I remembered that that bit, I had talked to my buddy about that in Chicago like 3 years ago, but it wasn't like a bit. It was just the image of the idea of me saving the day as a recess monitor. Right. That's what we had talked about, but it wasn't really a bit yet. But I brought it there, and it flowed nicely. I think the thing to do after that would just be, if it flows nicely, just write all that down and just keep fucking repeating it. What's cool too, if you transcribe your audio and you riff a lot, you can have like 4 different versions that you've copied down, and then you can sit down later and be like, what's the best way to go about this, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's kind of just my writing process right now.
I like doing solo podcasts, and then going back and re-listening to the solo podcast, and then thinking about what would be funny. And you know, doing comedy for a year, I have a better understanding of kind of what would work on stage, and just sort of what my opinions were on the podcast. Yeah, and that gets easier as I do it. But I haven't recorded a solo podcast in 2 months because it's just. Number one, I've been busy, and number 2, it's difficult.
It's difficult. Podcast. I've done it. I usually do about like 30 minutes, but like a lot of it, dude, is just really ranty horse shit. Right. It's almost like couldn't even be a bit, a lot of it. Right. Because it's so like, at least when I do it, it's so like shit talky and nonsensical. That's like, you couldn't bring this to an audience.
Sure. Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, I say I have maybe one decent joke and I try to go for at least 45 minutes. Yeah. And there might be one decent bit in that 45 minutes. Yeah. Like, it's not all, the whole 45 minutes is mostly shit, like what you're saying. I wanted to ask you this too. What do you think about the Austin scene here? You know, do you like it? Do you hate it?
Oh, I like it a lot.
Oh, you like it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's way people are way more friendly than they were in Chicago. Mm. And there's way less pretentiousness to people. Mm. I mean, there's certain instances, cuz like I think the LA comics that come in, like the big names, they kind of say they're like Austin comics, but they're LA. Yeah. Like, they came up there.
Right.
That's where they started. They're LA comics that are doing comedy in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
But the Austin scene, like, from all the young people that moved here and were starting out, I think it's great. I also enjoy the fact that, like, you can run an indie show here.
Yeah.
Which is not the case in a lot of places.
Right.
It's just not going to happen.
Right.
It's insane that, like, you could have 10 different independent shows during the week, and a lot of them are going to have a decent amount of audience.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, if you've never done comedy anywhere else, you can't really appreciate it. But I've been in other places where it's like, we can't get fucking anybody unless it's the Laugh Factory.
Every single person who I've come on the pod, I've never done comedy anywhere else, so I don't really know. There's more water right there if you want water, by the way. But a lot of people who come on here who have done comedy at other places are all like, that is the best spot, or the best part, I mean, is you can actually get people in to come see shows. If you stand outside and you bark for 2 hours, you're not going to get every person you barked at, but you might get 5, you might get 4 people to come in, which is...
It's something.
You might get 1, maybe.
Remember, this comic was down from New York, and we went to an open mic at, like, this, like, taco place.
Yeah.
Like, in the middle of the day, and there was, like, 6 people sitting in there listening, and the comic from New York was like, in New York, this would be, like, a really big deal, like, indie show. And we're like, dude, this is, like, an open mic. And he's like, this would be, like, something people tried to get on in New York.
Right.
Because it's just so fucking hard to get. Yeah, I don't know what it is about Austin. People like watching comedy.
Yeah, I asked that question because, Tim Warner, he talks a lot about how much he hates the Austin scene.
Yeah,
and how he's thinking about leaving.
Right.
And,
maybe we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, for sure. I just...
a little bit more.
But, because there are a lot of... He says it's, like, very L.A. And, I just, I don't want, because that's the thing is that some of these New York comics don't like Austin, right? Because it's like LA. But I like that there are New York comics here. I really appreciate that because I get a little bit of that. So I get a little bit of LA, I get a little, and for somebody coming up, I really appreciate that. I can kind of see both sides of it.
A lot of the New York comics, too, like, it is kind of LA down here, but it's kind of up to us as comics to decide what it's going to be. Mm-hmm. Like, you can do New York style comedy here and get a laugh.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of New York comics. It's not that they work in a bubble, but like, they're very used to New York. You can just work comedy in New York and never leave.
Right.
They come down here to a new place, and that might be some of it. And there is like a lot of LA energy, but that's because people from LA moved here. Mm-hmm. Like, and then you have another underground scene in younger people that are going to start to come up in like 5 years. And those comics are going to be the Austin comics.
Right. They're going to be a mix of the New York and LA,
what's going to be cool about them is they're going to be a mix of all different styles of comedy because everybody moved here.
Right.
But you're talking about this LA thing. I mean, Rogan's Club hasn't even been open for a year.
Yeah.
Okay. So hasn't even been a year.
Right.
You put that in, it seems like a long time, but you put it in a perspective. It's not at all.
A year. Yeah, wait,
so
that's
you're talking
so
about,
true.
Think about it in 5 years.
Right.
All the young people in Austin that have been working here start to come up and get ingrained in that and more ingrained into the clubs. You know what I mean? It's going to be a different vibe for sure.
Yeah. Do you I always kind of say this is that like you and Robert Tabbitt are like two people, and there are others as well, but like who are constantly focused on comedy. Like just not to single you guys out, but like you guys are so much, and I can tell, like, not to name names, but you guys are way more dedicated than other people here. And do you think, to someone like me who's brand new, I number one appreciate that you guys will even talk to me. Like, to me, that's like a big honor because I could have never seen you guys talking to me when I first got down here. And do you feel it comes across at first as almost intimidating? Do you feel that at all?
Feel what?
Like
Intimidated?
or no, not you're being intimidated, but you intimidate other people with how much your dedication is.
I don't feel that.
You
And
don't
maybe
feel that at
I'm
all?
missing a beat. Maybe I'm just not paying attention.
No, I
But
mean,
I don't really know. I know that people laugh.
mm-hmm.
Other than that, I don't really know how it comes off.
No,
I really try not to think about it because I try to put most of my energy into
stand up.
stand up instead of being like,
How do people think of me or perceive me?
yeah, and you think about that too. I mean, I think about that a lot as well sometimes, but like most of my mental energy is going to be towards the other thing.
Right. Right.
And it's like also it's like if we're at mics and we're doing comedy at mics, it's like
Yeah.
I'm not going to just not do what I do
Yeah, exactly.
at the mic.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Right,
what I
of
mean? I
course.
mean, naturally, everybody bombs all the time at these mics, you know?
Yeah, of course.
But there is like a layer of it. It's just like you can't really think too much about that.
Well, that's a good mentality to have, I think. That's
Yeah,
a very
and
healthy mentality to have. Again, for me, you come across as intimidating, especially when I first started, because you are so much better than me.
Yeah.
Number one, you still are. You're still way better
Right.
than me. But like,
Well-
I can see myself getting to your point now.
Yeah.
Right. Like, give me, because you said you're like 6-7 years, so give me 5 years, and I might be close to where you're at.
Yeah.
Rather, at the beginning, I'm like, how could I even ever do what you do? Obviously, I don't do what you do right now, but I see myself getting to a point where I can do what you do. And, you...
Well, it's a weird thing. You just have to, like, it's just kind of the importance of doing it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you're not going to notice how much better you're getting.
Right.
That's not really like a thing that you get to have like an objective perspective on.
Yes. Because...
You know what I mean? It's like really
Yeah, it's like when your aunt comes to visit you after not seeing you for a year, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, you got so big, you're so tall now." Rather, your mom saw you grow an inch here, an inch there, an inch here. So they're
Right.
like, "Yeah, that's my kid,"
Yeah, and I think if you have the intention to really get better at it and you think about comedy in your act and you obsess about how to do comedy well and you obsess about your act and you think about it all the time, then I don't know, something naturally will take place if you really like you have the intent to figure that out.
Right.
And it will naturally start to fall. The pieces will like fall together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I never thought it was crazy. Like, Robert had me do like 25 minutes at that bar show.
Yeah,
I did
yeah.
like 27. I actually didn't think I could do that.
Sure. Well,
And I didn't even do all my bits.
Wow.
And it was one of those things, it was kind of like an eye-opening thing where I was like, oh, shit, I've gotten a lot
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, for sure.
But I didn't really realize it till that moment.
Mhm.
Is you just stay in the moment and stay in the groove and just keep working and pay attention to when people laugh, pay attention to when they don't, and think about why that is. And think about, like, try to, like, understand comedy and study it and, like, understand your act and keep changing it. You know what I mean? I think that's really something that it's like that mentality will drive the thing on the direction that it needs to be.
Right.
You know?
Well, and I think that's why when I first started, I could tell you were doing all of that. And that's why you intimidated me at first, because it was like, oh my gosh, this guy is like, he knows what he's doing. And you're just so focused. And I'm glad you're here, man. I really am.
Oh, thanks.
I'm
I appreciate
glad
it.
you're here because it inspires me to do better.
Oh,
When I see you go up and you kill with a bit and you go, yeah, I've never told that before. I'm like, oh my. I have to be better. I have to write more. I have to think about my sets more. I mean, there's only so much I can do because I'm 19 and I'm not 21 yet, but it inspires me, that you're here.
Yeah,
Robert
well,
Tabbitt
thank
too,
you.
like where you guys are always writing and always coming up with new bits, and you go start off with. I mean, I've
Yeah,
seen it.
I mean,
where,
Tabbitt works harder than I do. Tabbitt's a freak, bro.
oh my god, he scares the shit out of me.
Why is that?
Dude, because he just works so hard. It's so it
Yeah,
is
he's
inspiring.
not even 2 years in.
When I heard that, it hurt my brain. When I heard that,
Well, here's the thing about Tabbitt. You know what he also does is he writes every single day,
and
and he keeps it organized.
yeah,
All the fucking errors that I
Mm-hmm.
have with organization and like going back and rewriting, like I can't tell this one thing. He doesn't do any of that.
well, he'll start out. I've seen it before. He'll start Monday, right? And brand new bit. He's never told it before. I know because I go to every mic every week.
Yeah.
And bombs. He'll bomb with it. And then Tuesday, same bit, brand new tagline, brand new punchline, or even a completely different angle, same joke. And then by Friday, it's murderous. It's a fully fledged bit, and then he'll never tell it again. And I'm like,
Yeah.
how do you do that? It's so crazy.
Well, he
to me.
thinks about it a lot and he keeps working
Yeah.
on it every day.
Right. Exactly.
Here's the thing, too. It's like if the bit's not working, change something.
Yeah. Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
always be changing things.
Right.
And like you can kind of, if you keep changing shit, you keep throwing darts at the board, trying to figure things out, and you remember when it lands, then it's,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to get to that place.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but that's Robert's thing is he works a lot, and then, he just, when it works, he like logs it and tries something new.
Well, and again, I don't need to say any names, but there are people who don't work and they bomb all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I get to see both perspectives. I really am glad that I get to see you and Tabbitt and, the unnamed people who just bomb every week with the same bits. And
Yeah.
it's awesome. I mean, it really is awesome.
You can see all of it, bro.
I feel like I'm getting a lot of shit being here. I feel like I'm gaining a lot of knowledge. This past year, I've changed everything. My comedy, my perspective on what's really important, on what I have to do, and
Yeah.
it's awesome. It really is awesome.
That's
One last
great.
question, and then you can go. I don't want to
Okay,
keep you
yeah.
hostage here. Why'd you come on this podcast when I asked you?
Oh, honestly,
Yeah, honestly.
I like you guys. You two. A lot. You guys are funny to me.
Really?
Yeah, you guys are hilarious. You got, you're not expert comics, but as characters, you two are hilarious to me.
Dude,
You guys just roll around together.
yeah.
And also, like, I'll do a fucking... Well, that's not true. I won't do any podcasts. But you seem you like comedy a lot. You're trying to actually do it.
Yeah, I'm trying.
You're not a weirdo. Maybe you are. I don't really know. You don't give me bad vibes. You got a good laugh. You're sincere. You know what I mean? I like you guys. I
I'm
think
pretty
you guys
upfront with my weirdness.
Yeah.
Like, very upfront. Like, love me, hate me, you know who I am. I've always said that. Like, you can find out who I am, dude. You can ask me my biggest problems and my biggest regrets. I'll tell you them. Everyone has them. I don't feel... I mean, I am ashamed of what I've done. But like... but, like...
I'm so ashamed. Deep down, I'm a man full of regrets. But, I'm upfront with my weirdness.
Right,
And
exactly.
I got a good laugh.
So,
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
but it seemed cool. Down for it. I didn't really have a...
Right. And I asked that question just because,
Yeah.
when I ask people, I want to, kind of get a reading of if they're going to say yes or no, and who I can and who I can't ask. And so asking that question of why'd you come on helps me.
Yeah,
personally.
I also, too, like, in my head, I don't really have much of a...
Expectation.
Well, no, it's just like... I don't really keep a tally of like who's above or beneath me.
Right. Yeah.
So
no,
I
that
mean,
makes
I know
sense.
you guys are like new comics, but I'm also like not really like as much as interested in that getting in the way
Mm-hmm.
as like you guys aren't like weirdos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you care a lot about comedy, and
Mm-hmm.
it's nice to have you guys at the mics, because you actually pay attention and laugh.
Yeah. I try. I try.
You know what I mean? And that's cool. So it wasn't like that. That's a bigger deal to me than really being like, oh, he's only got X number of followers, and you
Right.
know what I mean.
Yeah.
He's not
Exactly.
he's not as far along in stand up as me. I don't really give a shit about that.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Of course. I know exactly what you mean. Well. Thank you for coming on, man.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, dude.
We got in a little groove, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely, we did. This
Rocked
is
it out.
one of my best podcasts I've recorded.
Sweet, dude. We
For
said gay too
sure.
and retarded.
Dude, we said gay, retarded, and faggot.
You said that.
Oh, I said faggot.
No,
You
you
didn't say faggot.
That's right. I would like people to know that.
He's clean. He's a clean comic. Okay. He's
Clean, but I'm upset. I'm short and upset. That's just my character, man.
well.
All you gotta be.
It's working for you so far, I think.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on, and I will have you on anytime you want to come on.
Cool.
Anytime. I'll
Sweet,
have you
man.
on.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Peace
All right, bro.
out. Thank you.